Nursing student Angela Nemechek is suing her biological daughter, 17-year-old Jessica Simons, and Jessica's adoptive sister, Kathy Brooks, for the money she spent when Jessica came to live with her. Jessica and Kathy are countersuing, claiming Angela stole Jessica's Social Security checks.
All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 449 on the calendar in the matter of Nemechek versus Brooks Simons. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Looks like a lot of witnesses here for a relatively simple case. Miss Nemechek?
Yes.
I assume that this is Jessica?
Yes.
According to your complaint, you are Jessica's birth mother.
Yes.
And Jessica was adopted by a family when she was 4 years old.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are her sister.
Yes.
Adoptive sister?
Yes.
And both of her adoptive parents passed away, unfortunately,
yes.
from illness. For a period of time, she was staying with you.
Yes.
And then, Miss Nemechek, Jessica decided that she wanted to come and live with you.
Yes.
And she did for a short period of time.
Yes, Your Honor.
3 months, 4 months?
2.5 months. That was 3.5 months.
3.5 months. And during that time, you purchased some clothing for her and had other expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then there was falling out.
Yes,
and
Your
she
Honor.
went back to her sister's home.
Correct.
She and her sister came and got all this stuff that you had purchased for Jessica.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated for that.
Yes.
You're Miss Brooks?
Yes.
You have a counterclaim on behalf of your sister because you have guardianship of her now.
Correct.
And that is for reimbursement from the Social Security checks.
Correct.
That was sent to Miss Nemechek. And you want that money back because you say that was hers to spend.
Correct.
Miss Nemechek, how old was Jessica when she was adopted?
4.
And did you have contact with her from age 4 to age 17?
Yes, I did.
When?
Periodically. I've had phone calls with them. I've went and seen them. Me and their godmother, the one that adopted them, was really good friends. That's the reason why I let her adopt them, was because of my sickness that I do have, and currently still have.
Is that a physiological or a mental illness?
Physiological and mental.
Did you support your daughter over the years with money?
When I seen them at times, I did when I could financially afford it.
I'm talking about regular support.
No.
When your daughter came to live with you, I assume that either you weren't getting along with your sister, is that right?
Well, I just wanted to go live with my mom. I just wanted to get to know her. I wanted to have a mother-daughter relationship with her.
Do you approve of that?
At first, no, because of all the problems that we have had with Angela.
What kind of problems?
She would call their schools when my parents were alive, trying to get them out of school. Jessica and I are, we do fight a lot, and I think we do because you don't go from being a sister to trying to be a mother. And, you know, when someone is, 14 years old, our relationship changed because...
Were you married when your parents died?
Yes.
You have children?
I have 3 children.
And you took your sister to live with you?
I took both of my sisters to live with me.
And this was the older sister?
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
She take good care of you?
Yes.
I love her. She's my sister. I'm not gonna do this. When Jessica came to me and told me she wanted to know Angie, sorry.
Would it be better if I asked you questions?
No, I need to say this because it's important. I don't know what it's like not knowing your parents. So who was I to tell Jessica that she couldn't get to know her biological mother? Unfortunately, Angela, in the whole time since my parents have had Venus and Jessica and their older brother David, my parents adopted 3 of her children so they could stay together. She never could step up to the plate and act like an adult and knock on my door and say, hey, Kath, I'm sorry your parents died. I really want to help. I really would like to get to know my daughter.
She would sneak around and see us, basically.
So it was very hard for me to let Jessica go, but I spoke with Jessica all the time. You know, she gets a death benefit from my parents. That's what she has left of my parents.
What did you do with your death benefit, Jessica?
I signed the money over to my mother so she can put it in her bank. And she said she would save the money for me so I can buy a car.
Did you do that, Ms. Nemechek?
I did put that money in the bank. I put it in my savings account, and Jessica kept asking me for money, and I kept taking it out of my savings account and giving it to her. I do have proof of that.
Well, how much in the 3 months that she was there? You got 3 checks?
I got 2.
How much were they for?
$931 each.
One was $931, one was $731, and that was it.
How much did she get?
$931 each a month, and it was a total of $2,700 and some odd dollars that was giving to her from her death benefit.
Well, let's say, for argument's sake, it was about $2,000. When your daughter decided to go back, how much of the money that she turned over to you did you return to her or put in a savings account in her name?
She had none. She had taken that all out with withdrawals.
How could I...
Just a second.
Okay.
Let us assume that that's true. Who are you suing and for what?
The money that the 2 checks that she received, that Kathy had gave her, we gave her more money besides that.
You're her mother. Who's supposed to take care of
I signed my rights over.
Then
I signed my rights over.
Then Ms. Nemechek...
She's getting a check, Ms. Kathy Brooks.
I'm
speaking.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Adoptive sister Kathy Brooks for money she spent on Jessica's behalf. Angela says Jessica lived with her for 3 months when her adoptive parents died.
If you don't want to be her mother, then you say, I'm sorry you can't come to live with me. But when you buy her clothes, things that you should have been buying for her for 17 years, and she decides, I am speaking, and you give it to her, that is a gift. You don't get that back. You get to say, I'm sorry it didn't work out. I know I wasn't much of a parent to you when you were growing up. I know that you had lovely parents. Fortunately, I wasn't there for you. This little bit is my small bit, aside from the fact that you got a couple of $1,000s that you spent, because $100 here and $100 there over 3 months don't come out to $2,000.
I have all my proof.
I don't care what you have. What you don't have, clearly, is a conscience. You're supposed to do the right thing.
You have no idea what I went through in the past 17 years with
That's
these
not,
people.
listen to me. Whatever happened to you over 17 years, you visited on yourself, and you also visited on your children. Because whatever problems you had, you decided to have children. Mm-hmm. They didn't make that choice. You made that choice.
Yes, Your
so
Honor.
quite frankly, nobody is interested in what you went through over 17 years. That's your problem. You visited your problems on innocence. And when you do that, you don't get sympathy. And when you do that...
The reason why I gave up my kids is because I have leukemia. I was told I had 2 years to live.
Listen to me very carefully. If God blessed you and said, while you had 2 years to live, here you are, 15 years later, still alive and kicking, then what you do if your daughter comes back to you and you've given her a couple of $1,000s in clothes that you didn't take care of over her entire growing up years, and you decided to do it,
Your Honor,
and if it didn't work out,
her clothes in between those 17 years.
Ms. Nemechek, quite frankly, I find your behavior bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. If you suffer from an illness, and if you're giving me that as an excuse for giving up your children, despite the fact that years later you're still here, and if you had the unique opportunity of getting to know your children again, then you don't terminate that by suing them. That's stupid
I'm
and
not suing
amoral.
my daughter. I'm suing the person that supposedly gave her money that she never gave her.
That has nothing to do with you. It's not your money. It's not your money. It's Bird's money. It's the citizens' money. It's not your money. Now, but for the fact, Miss Brooks, just a second. Don't
I have
move.
them walk up here?
No, I don't need them. I said there are an awful lot of witnesses here for a relatively simplistic case. There's nothing that I don't understand that I have to have
Well, there's
made
a lot
clear.
more to this case, Your Honor. It's not just about the money.
Well, if it's not just about the money, you're in the wrong place. Go to a psychiatrist. Because that's what I'm here for. I'm here about the money. That's what courts are for. Other than that, you can go find Dr. Phil someplace. He'll be more than happy to hear you. Now, shh. Ms. Brooks, but for the fact that Ms. Nemechek brought this action against you, would you have counterclaimed for the money that Jessica gave her?
Yes, we actually already hired an attorney to help us write up the complaint against Ms. Nemechek. I also have a letter from our bank stating that Jessica's death benefit did come out of her account.
Well, let me see the letter from the bank. How long do you receive the death benefits for, Jessica?
Till I'm 18 and out of school, high school.
Well, this letter indicates, Ms. Nemechek, that there were 3 checks, all in the amount of $931.
Well, all I have here is a deposit on August 9th for $731.
That doesn't mean that you didn't get $931.
And then I
that
have
means that
a deposit
maybe,
here
I'm speaking.
on September.
I'm speaking. Death benefits don't change by $200. So that means that you may have deposited $731 and taken $200 in cash.
I don't recall that, Your Honor.
Well, you don't recall. That's why I have this from the bank. So 931 times 3 is $2,793. What'd you do with it?
Right here.
Oh, let me see it. Perfect. What's Sprint?
That's a cell phone bill.
$122?
Yes.
Get it. I don't know what this is. This is nothing. White Fox Den, $28. What's that for?
That's food.
Food?
Food.
Oh my God.
Walgreens. Sunglasses. 3 pairs of sunglasses. Shampoo. What's that for?
It's for Jessica.
Miss Nemechek, I think you're a bad lady. And I believe your daughter when she said you were going to take these checks and put them in an account for her, and the purpose of that account was that when she got to be old enough, she was going to be able to buy a car for herself. I believe you told her that, and I believe that you then went through your trash can and picked out receipts that you decided for your home, for you and your husband and whoever else lives there, that the government was going to be responsible for. If you supported your daughter yourself for 3 months and you've given her no other support her whole life, you ought to thank God that somebody took care of her for the 14 years that you didn't. Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $2,793. Your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I wouldn't let her have custody over me, and that's just a way of revenge for her, I guess. Suing her own daughter.
I have one daughter here. She's the one I'll help, because I know she never screws me like the other one did.
She was just doing everything behind everybody's back.
My son Scott, she came to his school and asked him to go and do drugs with her.
I'll see her in the next court on that one.
She does need professional help. Definitely, she does.
Maybe later on in life, if I'm not dead, then she can come around. But then again, my husband don't want her ever around.
I think it's ridiculous. I have nothing to do with her anymore.
22-year-old restaurant manager Pirapon Pontupo is suing fellow motorist, paralegal April Montañez, for assaulting her during an incident of road rage. April claims Pirapon tried to spray her with mace.
Come to order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 365 on the calendar in the matter of Pontupo versus Montañez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Pontupo, it is your claim that Ms. Montañez assaulted you during a road rage incident.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Montañez said she never touched you. Tell me where and when this happened.
On September 4th, 2004, me and my boyfriend, Michael Chaney, picked up my 16-year-old brother, and we were on our way to lunch.
Stop playing with your papers.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now tell me what happened with the defendant.
I was in the middle lane trying to make a left turn into the shopping center where the restaurant is located on. And then I noticed a truck behind me, a dark blue Ford F-150. Miss Montañez was the driver of the truck, kept honking constantly at me, but I wasn't going to go because I wasn't going to get into a wreck. And then when I finally made the turn, she came really fast right after me, and I thought she was going to hit me. The front of her bumper was like right by my driver's side door. And my window was down at the time, and we exchanged a few profanities.
Who said what first?
I said, "What the?" And she started screaming all kinds of bad words at me. And then she reached into my car, grabbed me by my hair, and I felt a couple of punches, and I felt as if she was trying to pull me out of my car by my hair. My boyfriend saw that, and he said, "What is your F problem?" And then he got out of the car, ran around my car. Then Miss Montana saw him coming toward her, so she ran back to her truck. And then my boyfriend then made the 911 call with the tech number, which I have the 911 transcript.
May I see it, please? Okay. Now, after she got back into the car, what did she do?
She parked on the front of the coin laundry and took out her laundry basket as if nothing happened. I was going to start doing her laundry. And I was really shocked at the time. And then my boyfriend got back in the car, and then I can see the other two passengers in her truck, which is that lady and a man in the late 20s or early 30s in her passenger seat. I can see them trying to motion her back in the truck like it's not safe to be here anymore. And then they drove off, and I was so mad after I realized what happened to me. I start following them into the parking lot. And after I followed them to a quarter mile, my boyfriend is still on the 911 call at this time. He told me, he said, "It's okay, it's okay."
Okay, I got it. Now, did you seek medical treatment at any time for your injuries?
Yes.
Do you have a doctor's report?
No, I couldn't get in touch with him.
Okay. Tell me the way you felt.
I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't lay on my left side because my head was hurting really bad, and I get the severe headaches.
How long did that last?
I would say a little bit over a week, and I couldn't go to work for a week because of it.
Okay, Miss Montanez, you want to tell me your version of the events, please?
We were on Singleton Road. It was my daughter's birthday that day, and I had to go to the laundromat to pick up some laundry. And there was a lot of cars going by at the moment when I stopped behind her, and I could see down because my truck is up high, and I could see down, and you could hear their music because it was kind of a warm day, and our windows were down. And I saw her talking to some individual, the passenger in the car, but I figured she just got caught up in her music, like all teenagers, and talking. So I honked my horn.
She's not a teenager.
Well, she looked like one at the time, but she was having a conversation. I honked my horn to let her know to go. She got mad. She stuck her hand out the window and did a profanity and called me an F and B. So I turned in before her into the shop.
Just a second. So what you did is you went around her.
Correct.
Keep going.
I pulled in front of her, and then I made the left turn and parked right in front of the laundromat because there's like an island right there where you can park. I got out of the truck. We started arguing, cursing at each other and everything, and my sister got out of the truck, and I was just like, ugh, I don't have time to deal with this because I thought they were teenagers. So I turned around and was going to go in the laundromat, didn't even make it in the laundromat, and I heard my sister screaming, "April, April, come on." And I turned around. When I turned around, I saw her boyfriend with rings in his nose, and just the way he looked, it scared me like a skinhead, and I'm like, oh my God, let's get in the car. So I jump in the truck. When I'm getting in the truck, she has her mace gun. We have a 14-day-old baby in the truck. It was myself, the baby, and then my sister. She's going through the window and she's doing all like this, but for some oddball reason, the mace had stuck. And my sister's rushing to roll the window up in case she did unstick it. And I said, oh my God, Stephanie, let's go. This is crazy. I can't believe this. I put my truck in reverse, and I backed out, and I went back the same way I come in. She come behind me and was following me, and I was going at a fast-paced speed to get away from her because it scared me.
When did you call the police?
I didn't call the police.
Right. You're telling me that someone tried to mace you in your car with a little tiny baby in the car, following you, a lunatic, and you never called the police?
Well, Your Honor, the reason why I didn't call the police is because I saw her boyfriend when I was coming back to my truck. He was talking to the 911 officer.
Now,
and he said, write her tag number down.
Why would you think they would call 911, and at the time they called, the police. This is what they reported. They didn't know the person, got mad when they were making a turn into PL. She started screaming, went around, got out, and hit the female in the face and pulled her hair while screaming at the female. He didn't say they're having a screaming match. Didn't say anybody took out mace. Said, my girlfriend got punched in the face and got her hair pulled, and we don't know who this person is.
And the reason why I didn't call at the time, Your Honor, I did not have my cell phone. I was just nervous, and I was ready to get out of there.
Very good. Now, what?
I have a police report from this incident, and she told a totally different story.
Can I see the police report, please?
To the police. It's a totally different story.
You want to speak? You want to be very careful about what you say. You're the sister, right? Mm-hmm. You're the reason that they didn't follow up and press charges because you confirmed her story. Is that right? Mm-hmm. I want to tell you something. I'm smarter than the police. So you want to risk it? Get up. We understand each other? That requires an answer. Yes or no?
Yes,
do you understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you choose to stand up and testify, or would you like to remain in your seat?
I like to testify.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Bo says she was assaulted in a parking lot by fellow motorist April Montanez. Parapon says April tried to pull her out of her car by her hair.
Your name?
Stephanie.
You have a last name?
Imes.
You want to tell me the story?
It's pretty much what my sister said.
It's pretty much what your sister said?
We were going to Kroger's. She was in front of my sister. It was busy coming traffic. She beeped the horn. They had music.
How many times did she beep the horn?
It was like 2 or 3 times for her to go.
2 or 3 times? Your sister told me she beeped the horn only once.
It was like 2 or 3 times for her to go, like a rapid beep for her to go.
So it was 2 or 3 times, but it was like one time because it was so fast.
Yeah, it's like a rapid beep.
Right. Okay.
So they had the music going. She beeped the horn. She leaned out of the car. She flicked her off and said some stuff, some cuss words. My sister went ahead because no cars were coming. She went in front of the lady. The car came in behind us. We turned to go towards the laundromat. My sister parked next to the little island. The laundromat is right across from the car. My sister got out of the car. They were arguing back and forth, cussing at each other. Then my sister, I kind of stood out to hear what was going on. My sister walked into the laundromat. I got back in the truck.
Did she carry anything into the laundromat?
I think she had...
Just a second. Look at me. Mm-hmm. Did she carry anything into the laundromat?
Yes.
What did she take out of the car?
It was some outfits, I guess. Yes.
Were the outfits in a basket?
No. No.
No basket?
No.
Just things in her hand?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what were you going to the laundromat for?
To pick up some clothes, and I think she had to dry clean the clothes that she had for the party. But at the time that I was waiting for my sister, this female came up to the truck as I got back in. She had some mace in her hand, and she was trying to...
Was that before or after your sister hit her?
She didn't hit her.
Yes, she did. Sit down.
Your Honor.
Yes, she did. Oh, yes, she did. She hit her, and she pulled her hair. And she was really annoyed. You want to know why I know she was really annoyed? Because she had a 2-week-old baby in the car, and instead of sitting there waiting for traffic to move, she sped up around and went around a car that was waiting to make a left turn and pulled out in front of her. That's something that someone does who has no judgment. And they only do it when they're annoyed.
No, ma'am.
I didn't ask you anything. I listened to you. You know, there's an old expression. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Because we've all drivers have been in the same situation that you were in. Sometimes you're behind somebody, and for some reason, they don't make a turn when they're supposed to. The arrow is green. They're waiting, they're talking, they're involved in the phone, they're listening, they're daydreaming, and you're looking and you're saying, that's the only shade of green there's going to be, right? Why isn't this person going? If you have a short fuse, you'll honk the horn a few times, and if that's not successful, you'll peel out, which is what you did. You peeled out with a baby in the car, went around her in order to make a left turn because you thought that there was a clear enough avenue of traffic so that you could make the turn. I believe everything that she says. You had a bad hair day.
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah,
Can
you
I
did.
show you a
And your
disposition of
sister
a
got you
hearing?
back into the... Listen to me. And your sister got you back into the car because you both saw the boyfriend on the phone with the police. That's what you just told me. A moment ago you said, I didn't have to call the police because I knew they were calling the police. And if you knew they were calling the police, then you stay there and wait for the police. You don't take off. What you just told me was, I didn't call the police because of this Mace, thinking fast, because he was calling the police. And if somebody is calling the police, and if you are a victim of a crime, you remain there with the doors locked, windows up, you don't get out to go and take your clothes into the dry cleaners.
Because none of this took place, Your Honor. We just argued. We had our words.
Madam, I don't
She tried to get me.
Madam, I don't believe you. And I don't
Well,
believe
can I bring
your sister.
something else to evidence?
Absolutely. Show it to me.
Okay, I have a disposition of a hearing when she tried to file simple battery and simple assault charges, and we went to Gwinnett County courts, and they were dismissed for insufficient evidence as well. Because in the police report, it says that the police officer, there was no physical evidence on the victim other than a few strands of hair that was allegedly pulled out by the suspect.
Listen to me, madam. She's not saying you broke her skin.
But there would have been swelling or something for the officer. This never took place, Your Honor.
I'm telling you, it took place, madam.
It didn't.
Listen, because you got over on a cop, and because you got over perhaps on a district attorney, you and your sister, who wouldn't know the truth if it came up and slapped her in the face, doesn't mean that I have to believe you. Your story doesn't make sense. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I insulted her race. She insulted mine. She told me she was going to get me.
The defendants, it's worse than a piece of dog.
If you would have saw her boyfriend, like 6 foot tall, earrings, a dragon tattoo on his neck.
He's 6'2", but he also weighed as much as she does, which is they both weighed 185 pounds.
I was just in a rush to get out of there because in Atlanta, people have been shot by road rage.
It just says she's a lying.
Carla Cardenas is suing her neighbors, Kathleen and Eddie Montoya, for the cost of vet bills. Carla says the Montoya's pit bull attacked her dog. The Montoyas are countersuing for harassment.
Arise. Now, this is case number 354 on the calendar in the matter of Cardenas versus Montoya. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Ms. Cardenas, were you walking your dog when this incident happened?
No, I was not. My daughter was.
This daughter?
Yes.
Okay. Would you step up, please? Tell me your name.
Hillary.
Hillary, what kind of a dog do you have?
I'm not sure. It's just a dog.
How long have you had the dog?
I got it Christmas last year.
Do you have a picture?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Sweet looking, small.
Small.
Hillary, so you were walking your dog, and when did this happen?
It was on April the 19th.
And are the Montoya's neighbors of yours?
Yes.
And they have a dog?
Yes.
Had you seen their dog before? Miss Montoya,
No.
put your papers down. You'd never seen their dog before?
No.
Tell me what happened when you were walking your dog.
Their dog was out by their yard, and I was walking with my dog on the other side of the street, and their dog came up and sniffed my dog, and then just started biting his neck. And
What kind of a dog do they have?
A pit bull.
Is that right?
Yes.
How old is your pit bull?
About 7 years old.
And you had vet bills, according to your complaint, of approximately $1,400.
Yes.
Can I see the vet bills and whatever other evidence you have, please?
Here are pictures of the dog's injuries.
What happened when the dog came up and started to gnaw at your dog?
Neighbors, one of the neighbors was trying to hit it with a shovel, and everyone was telling the dog to get off, but it just wouldn't get off, and then finally it just let go.
How's he now?
Pretty good.
Okay? How long was he in the vet?
He had to go every Saturday to see the vet, and he was at the vet overnight for surgery, and then he had to be in private care for 2 days.
Okay. All right, who's going to speak for you folks?
I guess I can.
That's fine. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, and you also have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is for harassment.
Correct.
Okay. So, what was your dog doing out?
I have no clue. My husband was in the hospital at the time, and me and 3 of my children were visiting him. We were actually on our way home when the attack happened. My daughter, Natalie, was the one that was home and witnessed what had happened. I only know from the time I got home what happened.
Which one is Natalie? All right, Natalie, you were home. What's your dog's name?
Rusty.
Where was Rusty?
He was across the street on the sidewalk sniffing their dog, and then their dog had bit.
How did he get there?
I have no idea.
The dog wasn't on a leash either.
Listen to me. You were in the hospital.
But the dog wasn't on a leash.
Yes, it was.
Shh. You were in the hospital.
I know that.
Good. So if you don't know what happened, I suggest you keep your mouth shut. Now, you were the one who was home.
Yes.
Why wasn't Rusty in your house?
Because we don't allow the dogs in the house.
So your dogs are outside all the time. How many dogs do you have?
We have 2.
Are they both pit bulls?
Yes, they are.
Has Rusty ever bitten anybody?
No.
Has Rusty ever attacked another animal?
No.
Did this time? Now, Miss Montoya, what makes you think that you are not responsible for these vet bills?
Because the harassment that we had to put up with her
I'm
children.
not listening to harassment yet. I'm asking you about the vet bills. Why do you think you were not...
because her dog was out also. It was at our end of the street. It snapped at my dog first, and my dog retaliated.
A, you don't know that. And B,
my daughter witnessed it. I do know that.
Oh, just 1 second. Your dog went across the street. That's what you just told me.
That's where her dog was at.
No. Listen to... I know that's where her dog was at.
Her dog was out without a leash. She was at her friend's house.
Listen to me. Did you just tell me that your dog went across the street to where her dog was?
Yes.
I'm going to take it down a level. Miss Montoya, let me explain something to you. You and I both know, and everybody knows, that a pit bull can cause a great deal of damage because of the configuration of their jaw. Correct?
Correct.
All right. You, therefore, have a responsibility that you are an insurer that your dog is not out of the control of you, your husband, your children, somebody at all times. Do we understand? Listen to me. I'm speaking. If you keep an animal that is potentially dangerous in your home and you choose not to keep that animal in your house because you don't want it to mess up your house, you are an insurer because your answer to this complaint is somebody must have let the dog out of the gate.
Correct.
And therefore it's not my fault because somebody did it. And as long as somebody did it and it wasn't me because I'm in the hospital and my daughter doesn't know whether she is a foot or horseback, it's not my fault. Well, I'm telling you, from a legal perspective, it is your fault. You are an insurer that this dog that is potentially deadly does not get out because it could just as easily have been a 3-year-old child that was across the street that your dog decided to attack, as opposed to a small dog that your dog decided to attack. Did you have brain surgery, sir?
Almost.
Did you have brain surgery?
Pretty much.
Well, then maybe that's the problem. Why don't you try opening up, putting on your listening ears and listen? When you keep a pit bull, you have a responsibility to ensure that that dog does not get loose. And if it does get loose, I'm speaking. And if it does get loose, you pay the consequences. So you're going to pay them $1,400 for their medical bills. Now, if you're... I'm speaking. And if your complaint is that after you refuse to pay the medical bills for their dog that was injured really seriously, that their daughter decided to harass your daughter, I would have paid the $2. Do you understand?
Yes.
We never knew nothing about the bill, though, till about
Carla
a month and a
never
half
came-
later.
right. Carla,
we tried
it
to
was so
contact the
important
mother,
to
and the
them.
mother was never
Yes.
available to come to the door. The daughter would say, my mom's busy. My mom's not here.
Sir,
so we
that is
tried a
not
month and a half to get a hold of her. I was in a wheelchair and went down to her house to contact her. And they told me that she wasn't available.
One time.
That she wasn't available. So how were we ever supposed to communicate with the parent?
Try U.S. Postal Service. Try the U.S. Postal
Like I
Service.
said, my dog can go free. My dog don't bother nobody. The kids, he's never been a kid. It pays with kids all the time. So how can you sit here and tell me my dog is dangerous?
Let me tell you why, sir. Because in the last week, I have handled 3 pit bull cases.
Those are those pit bulls. Those ain't my dog.
No, this is... Well, listen to me, sir. This is your pit bull.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Carla Cardenas claims her neighbor's unleashed pit bull attacked her dog. Kathleen and Eddie Montoya claim Carla's dog was also unleashed.
You are an insurer. If you
I
have
see
a
what
dog...
their dog was doing way down the street without a leash in front of my house in the first place.
It's like 9
Listen
houses
to me, listen
away.
to me, listen to me. You're never going to get anywhere. He's never going to get it.
I do get it. I understand both dogs
He's
were
never,
not
listen to me, it's sad, but he's never going to get it. His wife appears to be slightly more intelligent, not necessarily her, but the wife appears to be slightly more intelligent, and perhaps she can get the fact that when you have an animal, you have a responsibility to see...
That.
I didn't speak to you. I'm speaking to your wife. Be quiet. Everybody else in your family may be afraid of you. I guarantee you, sir. I guarantee you, sir, I do not quiver in my boots at your presence.
You're not supposed to.
Good.
You're not supposed to.
You have a responsibility to see to it that no harm comes to any other living creature, human or otherwise, as a result of your animal. And you chose to leave your dog outside. A small child may have come by and opened up the gate, may have unhooked the lock. That's possible. That's not an act of God. That's something that you are responsible for. And between you paying the $1,400 for the vet bill and them paying $1,400 for the vet bill, the responsibility is yours. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,400. And I assume that if you had taken care of this responsibility immediately, there wouldn't have been any harassment that resulted. So your counterclaim
Harassment started
dismissed.
before we got the paperwork.
Out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That little dog snapped at my dog. My dog just getting aggressive. Say if somebody punched you in the face, you're going to punch him back, right?
I'm glad, because my dog was really badly hurt.
Her kids come by flipping us off and flipping off the neighbors and, a bunch of nonsense, chaos.
Every time the dad would see me walking down the street, he would tell his daughter to go beat me up, and I'd always just try to walk away.
They were telling us to hit them, so we ended up hitting them. They were all up in our face and stuff, so we're going to do what we had to do.
It wasn't just over my dog. It was over a lot of things.
My daughters have been in fights with other neighborhood children, and her oldest daughter, they physically fought, and it's just a mess.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Burnett versus Burnett. Step forward.
Drug counselor Frances Burnett is suing her ex-boyfriend, maintenance man Quentin Barnett, for vandalizing her Pontiac Grand Am twice. Frances claims he was caught red-handed both times.
You're not related to each other.
No, ma'am.
But he was your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you broke up with him.
Yes.
According to what I'm piecing together from your complaint, he didn't take this breakup well.
No, ma'am, he did.
And he vandalized your car, according to you? He came to your job and created a scene, harassing you. You want him to compensate you for both.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burnett says he just wanted to talk, right?
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't want to talk to you. When did he vandalize your car?
On August 26, 2004.
Tell me about it.
Earlier that evening, I had Mr. Burnett had called me stating he wanted to come by my house and talk to me. Mr. Burnett at the time was not welcome at my house, so I told him he could not come.
When had you broken up with him?
The second week in August of 2004.
Do you care to tell me why?
Around that time, my house was broken into, and at that time, I was suspicious of Mr. Burnett, and I asked him to leave my home and ended the relationship.
Was he living with you at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had he been living with you?
About a year.
Why did you think he was somehow responsible for the burglary?
The last 6 months of our relationship was very disruptive. We were into a lot of arguments. I didn't like the type of people he was hanging around, and he was just, suspicious to me.
Tell me what happened on August 26th.
Mr. Burnett called and stated he was coming over to my house. At that point, I sat in my living room looking out the window waiting on him. When I saw him arrive, he did not get out in my driveway. He got out down the street from my house, and I saw him exit a vehicle and walk toward my house. As he walked toward my house, he started to ring the doorbell and knock on the door. At that point, I called the police. And all of a sudden, I heard a noise outside my window. I looked outside my kitchen window where my car was and saw Mr. Burnett vandalizing my car.
What did he do to the car?
He smashed the front windshield. The 2 rearview mirrors were smashed out. And then he took a iron brick and scarred the whole car up.
You have a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
May I see it, please?
I also have pictures.
I'd like to see those too. Did you have a hissy fit?
No, ma'am.
Did you scratch her car?
No, ma'am.
What did you do to her car?
I didn't do anything to the car. I went over there. She didn't let me in, so I left.
She told you not to come over to begin with.
Yes, she did. She
told you not to come over. What'd you go over there for?
Because I wanted to talk to her.
She didn't want to talk to you?
Well.
Are you trying to tell me you just left?
Yeah, I did just leave.
No.
Oh, well, whatever.
Okay. When was the next act of vandalism on the car?
August the 27th.
What happened then?
Earlier that day, Mr. Burnett had been calling me on my job with harassing phone calls and threats.
What did he say?
That he was going to get me, that he was going to call my boss and cost me my job, that he was going to beat my A and everything according to that. He also came up on my job that day and attempted to assault me. As a result of his actions against me on my job, I lost my job, and I have a police report to
I'd like to see it, please. In the year that you were living together, how many times were the police called to your house because of assaults?
Several.
Who assaulted whom?
He got the assault charge.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Why what?
What'd you hit her for?
Because she did something to me.
What did she do to you?
She hit me first, so I hit her back.
Oh, well, if she hit you first, that's the reason. So you hit her back. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I bit her.
You bit her?
On the job.
Sounds like a relationship made in heaven. Tell me what happened on the 27th, please.
Late on that evening, I went home, and that's when my son came to report to me that he was outside slashing the tires on my other car.
Tell me your name.
Gordon.
Did you get along with Mr. Burnett?
Okay.
Do you remember August 27th?
Yes.
Remember what happened with the tires of your mom's other car?
He slashed them.
What time was this?
9:30.
In the evening?
Yes, ma'am.
When you saw him slashing the tires, did you say anything to him? Did you call out to him?
No.
What did you do?
Told her, and she called the police.
Is Gordon lying?
I guess he is, because I ain't do it.
So somebody else slashed her tires?
Yeah.
And somebody else rode all over her car?
Yep.
Well, listen to me. In the year that you lived, year or so that you lived in her house, how many times was her car vandalized?
None. Zero.
None. No. I'm just trying to get some information, some basic facts from you, sir. In the year that you lived with her,
zero.
She had 2 cars, and nothing happened to the cars, right?
Yeah, right.
And in the week following her putting you out of the house, both of her cars end up vandalized. What do you think of that? What do you think of that? Isn't that bizarre? How coincidental that is?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's just mind-boggling how those things just happen to come around. Isn't it mind-boggling?
Quite a coinky-dink.
Right. I see the estimates, please, on fixing your car. Mr. Barnett, you got to put a rein in on that temper, sir. You know what the policeman says about you here?
What is that?
He says you are angry. Were you angry?
He couldn't have said it about me because I wasn't over there. He must have been talking about somebody else.
Well, no. It's you. It's you. He says you're angry.
He
He said your general appearance was conservative. but your demeanor was angry. Now, tell me what happened when he got to your place of employment, Miss Burnett.
He came on the job. He was very, very disturbed, wanted me to come from around the desk, and I would not.
What kind of work do you do?
Alcohol and drug counselor.
Why did you go to her place of employment, Mr. Barnett?
To talk to her.
She didn't want to talk to you. She told you that before.
Oh, okay.
You're a nice-looking young man. You have a job?
Yes.
What kind of job do you have?
A maintenance man.
So you have a job, you make a living, right?
Yes.
You find another girl, she doesn't like you anymore.
I hear you.
So you're going to leave her alone, right?
Yes.
If you don't, you're going to go to jail. Do you understand? Good. You working now?
No, ma'am.
How long did you have that job?
3 years.
On what date were you let go?
August 30th, 2004.
You caused her to lose her job, Mr. Burnett. Caused thousands of dollars worth of damage to her car. Was your temper tantrum worth it? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
I'm very happy with her decision. I finally got this closure to my life, and so I can go ahead and try to find me another job.
I went up there to talk to her. I didn't put my hands on her.
It's been mentally disturbing, a lot of mental anguish, very stressful.
I didn't do it. She didn't have no papers up there saying that I did.
I love Judge Judy, and I thank her for seeing my side of it.
27-year-old student Julie Lagos is suing nightclub owner Jack Wade for damages due to an assault. Julie claims one of the club's female bouncers punched her in the head.
Come to order, all rise. Yes, case number 317 on the calendar, the matter of Lagos versus Wade. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Wade, you own a bar?
Yes.
The plaintiff was a patron in that bar?
Yes.
You had an employee in that bar? Female employee?
Yes.
In what capacity did you employ this woman?
The woman is security.
And according to Miss Lagos, this female security guard at your bar assaulted her without provocation. Now, there is some merit to her statement because this security guard pled guilty to assault, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
Let us take that as a given. She pled guilty and then she fled the jurisdiction after sentencing. That's what it says here, right?
Yes.
Miss Lagos said she was injured and she wants to be compensated.
Correct.
When were you assaulted in Mr. Wade's bar?
On November 27th of 2003.
Tell me about it.
I was at the bar with a girlfriend. I have never been to that bar before. I went into the bar. I lost my friend. So I proceeded towards where I saw a bouncer at the exit. I asked him, what do people do when they lose their friends? He told me that I can try calling her on my cell phone, which I proceeded to do. And then afterwards, when I tried to come back in, he wouldn't let me back in. And so I was just inquiring on, well, how do I get back in? I'm lost. I've never been here before. And then out of nowhere, the security guard that came in, and she didn't know the conversation at all. And she just butted in and said, what's the problem? And I told her, I said, you know, please don't talk to me that way. You don't know what's going on. And then out of nowhere, she'd hit me on the right side of my head. I started crying. I've never been in a fight before. I asked the bouncer to get me assistance. I felt dizzy. I felt like I was going to pass out.
When she hit you, what did she hit you with?
A closed fist. The bouncer told me at that point to go home and drink it off. It happens all the time. They refused to call the owner. They refused to call any assistance for me. So I went on my cell phone. Another person who was there helped me walk to my car, and I dialed 911.
Either one of you there that evening?
Right, yes.
Were you at the door?
Yes.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Kevin Kinzis.
How long have you worked for Mr. Wade?
I'm a customer there.
You were a customer?
Right.
A regular customer?
Yes.
How did it come about that you accompanied Mr. Wade to court today?
Just came back there and asked what happened.
Came back
I came
where?
back to the establishment and asked him what happened because I saw a bunch of stuff going on at the back exit.
Well, what kind of stuff did you see going on, Mr. Kinsis?
Well, I was leaving through the other exit, and I seen her going through this exit.
Yes.
And I saw the bouncer saying, you can't come in through this exit. And it just...
And what?
This girl came by and...
Which girl?
This security guard.
Security guard came by and...
She said, shut up, you bull dyke, beep, and then, like, flicked her hair.
What? Who said what to whom, sir? You're not being clear. I want you to be clear.
The security guard.
Security guard said to her.
You cannot come in through here.
Yes.
And I heard, shut up, you bull dyke.
Who said it?
The security guard said it to her.
To her. So the security guard cursed her.
Right.
And then hit her.
Well, flicked her, not, I mean, hit her, just like flicked her hair.
And then what did you hear?
That was it, I just left.
So you didn't really, that really wasn't much of an incident?
No.
So what did you go find Mr. Wade for?
I just asked him what happened that night.
When did you ask him what happened that night?
Probably a week later.
Why would you even think about asking him what happened a week later, sir, if what you described to me was truthful, Mr. Kinsis, that nothing happened, somebody got their hair flicked? Why would that even stay in your mind, Mr. Kinsis?
I just asked him what happened back there, and he told me.
What did he tell you?
That some girl tried getting into the exit, and, are you a witness? And I said, yes, I saw it. What happened?
Sit down. Aren't you sorry you made a fool of yourself?
Yeah.
Sit down.
All right.
Good. Mr. Wade, Mr. Kinsis is sorry he made a fool of himself.
I think he's scared.
Now, were you hospitalized?
No, I didn't have insurance at that time.
Just listen to me. Answer my question. Were you hospitalized?
No, ma'am.
When for the first time did you seek medical assistance?
The next morning.
Do you have a report from a doctor?
I do, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
Can I add something?
Yes.
In case you can't read it, the last paragraph of this police report basically says the detective had a call because the...
May I see the police report, please?
Here's the police report, and here's the last paragraph right here.
Oh. Okay. Any medical follow-up?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
Anything else you got?
No, sir. I have the docket report. I don't know if you need that.
What's your last name?
Dewberry.
What are you doing here?
I was the one that discussed this with her, settling.
You work for Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Stand up, please. What did you discuss with her?
I discussed going over her medical bills with her and coming up with a settlement for the incident that had happened.
When did you first have your conversation with her?
In July of 2004.
When did Miss Mullen plead guilty?
I don't know.
When?
She pled guilty at the end of April of 2004 by the district attorney.
So what took you so long? Why did you wait until July?
That's when I was first contacted by her.
When had she contacted you, Mr. Wade?
About June.
Not before June?
No.
Even though this incident happened in November?
Right.
Is that right?
No, ma'am, it's not right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Claims nightclub owner Jack Wade owes for damages from an assault. Julie claims she was punched in the head by a female bouncer.
Now, when did you first
I first contacted him in December. He said that he was willing to work with me, but he was not going to settle with me for anything until he knew whether or not Lisa pled guilty by the district attorney.
That sounds right. This lady didn't wait, sir, until June. She went to the doctor right away, and she contacted you right away.
That's not true. She called me in June. I didn't know that anything was going on with her. She called me and she told me she'd been there. And
Let me tell you something, sir.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
You see this gentleman over here? He came and testified a moment ago at your request. He said that he spoke to you a week after the incident, which would have been in December.
Yeah.
And you asked him if he could be a witness.
No, I didn't ask him if he would be a witness.
He volunteered to be a witness.
No, he coming to me. No.
Right?
Right.
Right. That's what he says, Mr. Wade. Volunteered to be a witness. Now, why would you need a witness if the plaintiff did not contact you from November until June?
He came to me in December, and he said, I was out there that night and heard this commotion, a bunch of yelling. And I said, did you see it? And he said, yeah. I said, what happened? He didn't know why she was yelling and all, just what he saw.
Mr. Wade, you're pulling my leg, sir.
No, I'm not pulling your leg.
Yeah, you are, sir. You're pulling my leg.
No, I'm not.
Because this lady did not wait after she was assaulted in your bar 7 months before she contacted you to be compensated for the assault. Let's get over that, because it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, Mr. Wade, it's not true.
No.
Now,
I have a document here in July that she faxed us stating the damage done to her in July on her own father's fax machine.
Just 1 second. I'm not saying she didn't fax you that in July. I'm not saying she didn't contact you in June. I'm saying it was not the first time she contacted you. The first time she contacted you was prior to June. Now, when was your settlement negotiation with her?
I started discussing them with her in July.
What did you offer her?
I didn't offer anything. I offered to go over the medical bills with her.
Yes.
And come to some sort of settlement. She was first seeking $10,000.
Yes.
We met again, and we came down to a $5,000 settlement based on the fact that these bills were true.
Okay, well, did you read the report from the detective?
No, I didn't.
Well, the
receive
report from the
that.
detective indicates that the detective had conversations with a treating physician, whose report I do have here, who indicates that she was in fact injured, that the tenderness in her head was consistent with that injury, that in the opinion of the doctor it was a result of being hit in the head. Okay? Now, whether she had medical bills or not, even if she had no medical bills, you're still responsible. You're liable. You hired somebody to work in your establishment who you shouldn't have hired. I don't know what kind of background investigation you did, but certainly you're responsible. If somebody walks into your bar and a member of your staff assaults them, you're liable. You're liable for her pain and suffering. You're liable for her humiliation. You're liable if she gets dizzy, if she has flashbacks, if she has nightmares. Don't you get that, Mr. Wade?
I understand that. That's why we asked Kim to settle with her to see what the amount would be.
Well, then let me ask you this question, sir. What was the amount that you ultimately offered her?
They talked of discussion about $5,000. And she
so
was
what are you doing here? If you offered her $5,000 and that's the maximum that this court can award, why are you here?
When Kim went to settle with her, we said about 7 to 10 days that we'd check the bills and get back to her. Now, on the 9th day, she called Kim up, yelling and screaming at her, and said if we don't have the money by 5 o'clock that day, the deal's off.
Let me ask you a question. If you said you understood what I just said to you, that whether she had medical bills or not, she was assaulted in your bar by one of your employees, and you are responsible. If she had a headache for 3 days, if she had dizziness, if she had tenderness in her head, which is consistent with the medical reports that are here from the detectives, you're responsible. How long did it take you from July to get back to her?
It was probably August when I was told her we'd probably, if he agreed to it, we'd settle in 7 to 10 days. On the 9th day, she called me and told me I better effing figure out a way to get her money tonight or I'd be sorry. Then she called me back again.
So just a minute. So you told her you were going to settle with her in 7 to 10 days. On the 7th day, you didn't settle with her. Get her a check. On the 8th day, you didn't settle with her. On the 9th day, you didn't call her. She called you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can I say something?
Sure.
The 7th and 8th day was on a Saturday and Sunday.
Then she shouldn't have said to her 7 to 10 days. She should have said 10 to 14 days.
I didn't do that.
You have a responsibility, Mr. Wade, that when you hire a security guard in your place of business, that you've done an appropriate background check. Now, I'm not going to ask you what kind of background check you did on this woman, because I don't think you did one. Because anybody who is convicted of assault and then takes off, this is not their first offense. This is not the first time that they have been involved in the law. That's your responsibility. And if because of your dereliction and your responsibility to make sure that not only are your doors covered, that people don't sneak in, but that your patrons are safe. Safe. According to the police, this lady was not intoxicated. She was not sloppy. What are you laughing at? Are you inappropriate or what?
She said she filed a report the next day. I just heard her say that.
On 11/27, date of the incident, I was dispatched. I officer was dispatched to South Manchester. Is that where you are, sir?
Yes.
All right. She was not intoxicated. That's the detectives. Why do you think this is funny?
I'm not laughing at you.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I am very excited that justice was served.
I don't want to get into that.
Words can't even say. I've tried and tried again, and he played me, and now he's the one that got played.
I'd have nothing to say.
He was slick and just didn't want to deal with Joy.
I don't want to talk about that.
On the last day, he told me, see, try and take me to court, and I took him to court, and I prevailed.
I'm very upset right now.
Window salesman Vernon Lawson is suing his ex-girlfriend's neighbor office services technician Linda Crescent for damaging his car with a squeegee. Linda says she was defending herself against an irate Vernon.
Behind the courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Lawson versus Crescent. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
What's your name?
Judith Savaggio.
Savaggio, are you the girlfriend?
Yes, I'm his friend.
Good. Miss Savaggio, where do you live?
Bakersfield, California.
And where does Miss Crescent live?
She is my next-door neighbor.
And how long have you lived there?
6 years, just over.
And how long have you lived there?
42 years.
And how long have you and Mr. Lawson been friends?
Off and on for about 5 years.
More recently, how long on?
Several months.
And when you say you're friends, she says he's your boyfriend. Would that be true?
There would have been a time I would have used that term, yes, Your Honor.
Maybe not now.
Correct.
And do you rent your home or do you own it?
I rent.
Do you rent or own?
I own.
Mr. Lawson, this is what this lawsuit is about. It is your claim that the defendant caused damage to your car with a squeegee.
That's correct.
And it is your claim that you did so purposely.
Absolutely.
Because you were involved in some sort of an altercation with her. She says she was merely defending herself. But I want to go back a little bit because I've read your complaint very carefully. Your complaint says that you and Mrs. Savaggio were boyfriend and girlfriend, and that she was having some trouble with Miss Crescent. Is that true?
Yes, Miss Crescent chopped off some limbs of a tree.
Just a second. The answer would be yes, you were having trouble. When did the trouble with Miss Crescent begin?
It was approximately the first week of June of last year.
June of 2003.
Correct.
Now, prior to June of 2003, had you been reasonable neighbors with each other?
To a degree, yes.
Fine. And then something happened. According to what I read from Mr. Lawson, she cut off some limbs of a tangerine tree and left them on your lawn. Something like that.
She would have had to pick them up and throw them over my fence.
Just a second. That's what it was about. Mr. Lawson says that in retaliation for that, he knew that Miss Crescent objected to his parking his car in front of her house. So he decided to irritate her by parking his car in front of her house permanently. That's what you say in your complaint, correct?
Until such time...
That's what you say in your complaint. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then what happened, Mr. Lawson?
I had left it there for a couple of days, Judge, and then I drove to
Why did you leave it there for a couple of days?
Because she had failed to remove the branches that she placed over on Judith's property.
What does that have to do with you?
Well, it was upsetting Judy.
Just a second. Just a second. If it was upsetting Judy, don't you think that she's intelligent enough to take care of it herself?
Yes, she's intelligent enough to take care of it herself.
Right. So you instead decided to make things worse between these two neighbors. You sort of sauntered in and said, I'm going to show my muscle because I'm a mature, thoughtful individual who, instead of trying to ameliorate a situation, I'm going to exacerbate a situation. So you, as an irritant, parked your car in front of her house. Now, after you did that, Mr. Lawson, tell me what happened.
Well, Your Honor, I had drove over to an appointment in my other vehicle.
Oh, just a second. So you have two cars?
Absolutely. I have a pickup truck and a sedan.
Good. And I assume that at the time, you also had your own apartment.
That is correct.
So what you're telling me, Mr. Lawson, is that you left, despite the fact that you lived elsewhere, you used the front of her house as a parking lot for your pickup truck.
No, Your Honor. That property is on a corner, and I use a side lot, which is completely out of her visibility all the time on the other street.
So when you said here, I decided to begin parking my car in front of her house, although I know it irritated her, that was a lie.
I know I park it in front of her house because it's not illegal to park in front of her house.
It's a city street. It's owned by the public. I pay taxes.
Okay, so tell me what happened after you parked one of your 2 vehicles in front of her house all the time, sir.
Okay, well, I had driven, Your Honor, over to an appointment, and after returning over to Judy's house, which I visit all the time.
How much all the time, Mr. Lawson? Every day?
Every day.
3 times a week?
Yes.
Every day. So you returned to her house. And what time was it that you returned to her house after an appointment, Mr. Lawson?
It's approximately midday, 1 o'clock.
Okay, and what did you find when you got there?
When I got there, I found that there was 3 screens from Linda that were leaning up against my pickup truck that was parked at the curb.
What did you do when you saw the 3 screens that were leaning against your truck?
I got out of my car and I went over to the passenger side of the pickup truck that had the screens, noticing that Linda was all the way over there next to her house, the windows that she was squeegeeing, and I grabbed one of the screens and I threw it out in the middle of the street.
You grabbed one or all 3?
I believe I got to the second one before she bolted away from the windows, walking 30, or not walking, but running 35 feet away from this truck, and started chasing me down the street with a squeegee in hand like she wanted to bury it in my back.
Well, Mr. Lawson, why did you, instead of taking the screens and throwing them in the middle of the street, why didn't you just take them and throw them off your car?
Well, I probably could have done that.
Well, I'm just asking you why you didn't, sir.
Because she wouldn't pick up the limbs that she threw over the fence in Judy's house.
How old are you?
I'm 53, Your Honor.
Grow up. Don't you have better things to do than to create havoc? You're going to move on. She's been living in her house for 42 years. She's been living in her house for 6 years. You think she needs you to create more trouble?
No, Your Honor.
Right. All right. First of all, let's get to these limbs. I want you to tell me what happened to these limbs of the tangerine tree, because I want to hear it from you, and it better be the truth. Got it?
Got it.
Good. Let's go.
I trimmed the leaves that were, the branches that were hanging over into my yard.
Okay.
And
just a second. So the tree is in her backyard?
Front yard.
Front yard. And you trimmed the branches?
Correct.
And what did you do with the branches after you trimmed them?
I set them very neatly by the fence.
On her side?
Correct.
Why?
Because I had no room in my garbage can to put them.
Well, that's wrong, my dear. That's wrong. That's not neighborly. That's the wrong thing to do. You have perfect right to trim the branches that are hanging over your side of the property. You trim them and you cart them away. And if you don't have room in your garbage can, you wait until you do, because I assume that they have been growing for a long time. And if 1 week you don't have room, wait for the next week. So that was the wrong thing to do, correct?
Correct.
So who asked you to remove them?
No one, Your Honor.
Did you ask her to remove?
I wrote her a letter.
Did you receive her letter?
Yes, I did receive.
And what did the letter say?
In essence, the letter said that if I didn't remove them, that she was going to sue me. I called the owner, and he removed them.
When did he remove them?
Saturday morning.
So how long were they there in the yard?
2 or 3 days.
Is that right?
About a week.
Okay, but the owner of the premises that you rent ultimately removed them.
Yes, his son lives a half a block away. His son came and did it.
Fine. Terrific. So that's over. Now, how much after that incident did we have this parking in front?
The parking in front, the limbs were cut about on Monday. I'm not sure. I didn't see her cut them. I think it was Monday we discovered them. I sent her the notice on...
When?
The next day, as soon as I noticed.
Tuesday.
Well, on the following Thursday, I had visitors coming to my home.
Following Thursday?
2 days later.
Oh, that Thursday?
That Thursday.
Just a couple of days later.
A couple of days later. I had visitors coming up the walk to my house, and she chose to scream and yell at them that she was not going to move those. And I didn't think it was appropriate for her to start screaming at my visitors about these leaves.
Okay. Did you scream at somebody?
I never saw anybody come up any walk that entire week except for Vernon, who chose to park in front of my house and scream at me.
So you had an altercation with him after he started to park in front of your house?
Correct.
Is that right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, Lawson says his ex-girlfriend's neighbor, Linda Crescent, damaged his car by hitting it with a squeegee.
Now tell me about the squeegee.
I was in front of my house washing and drying my windows, and I had a squeegee in my hand when he came screaming around the corner in his car and parked directly behind the pickup. He got out of the car clearly enraged with his fists clenched and came at me. And I turned to see him coming at me. And he grabbed one of the screens, threw it out in the street, and I went out to retrieve the screen knowing that there might be a car coming.
Why did you put the screens on his truck?
Because it was there. It was convenient. It was sitting right there.
Sounds to me like a lot of people behaving badly. A lot of grown-up people who don't have enough to do. That's what happens when you have too much leisure time. How many hours a week do you work?
30 hours a week.
How many hours a week do you work?
40.
I think you ought to work more. You did the wrong thing, Mr. Lawson. You did the wrong thing, Miss Grice. Now you want to show me a picture. I'm dying to see it.
Pictures, Your Honor.
I'm dying to see it, Mr. Lawson.
Well, this one right here for evidence, Your Honor, shows my truck in respect to the windows where she had to pass the bushes and a tree in her front yard to lean up the screen.
Let me explain something to you. I understand that she did the wrong thing. Okay. I said that. Did I agree with you, Mr. Lawson? I'm an ecumenical abuser.
Yes, ma'am. This is the wonderful dents in my car that she did with her squeegee since she couldn't get me.
This is the tree she cut, fence with clippings behind. Okay, she knows she's not supposed to do that. That's not a neighborly thing to do. She wants to clip it and cut it, clips it and cuts it and put it in her trash. Right?
Correct.
Say sorry.
I'm sorry.
Perfect.
I accept that.
You accept her apology?
Yes.
Great. All right, now all you have to do is get rid of him, and then you're all set.
I'm working on that, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, I'm going to suggest that you get the dents out of your car for $100, sir, because I'm not giving you any more than that. She lost her temper. She shouldn't have done that. You acted badly. You have to pay for that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. Listen, she's going to be your neighbor. He's going to be gone. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Linda gives a new dimension to Love Thy Neighbor.
This man is a very dangerous man.
Well, she acts very inappropriately toward the neighbors.
He had me arrested. He had asked the police to cuff me and take me to jail.
I am a Christian, and the Bible tells me to see that my neighbor lives beside me in peace. The Bible also tells me that it's a fool who despises their neighbor. So, Linda, I love you.
Thank you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Yeager versus Sutton. Step forward, please.
Operations trainer Brenda Yeager is suing construction worker Albert Sutton for medical bills and pain and suffering on behalf of her 8-year-old son, Jacob. Brenda says Jacob broke both of his arms when Albert threw him in the air and dropped him.
Why, Mr. Sutton, I hardly know what to say to you, sir. Bird, 30 seconds or less. I assume that this is the young man who was injured. They were playing a game, some sort of a game in a park. Miss Yeager is going to tell me, what kind of game was it?
Soccer practice.
Soccer practice. And Mr. Sutton has a child?
Yes.
Who was also at the soccer practice. And during a break in the activity, Mr. Sutton was playing with the kids. He is not a bad man. He is not an evil man. He's not a malicious man. He's just, let me be kind, short-sighted. So he was throwing his son up in the air, right?
Yes.
And when he got finished throwing his son up in the air and catching him, he threw up Mrs. Yeager's son. I mean, he didn't throw up Mrs. Yeager. He threw Mrs. Yeager's son up in the air. And he didn't catch him. And he fell and broke both arms. That's what happened. Yes, ma'am. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he was in casts, and he was out of commission for a while. When did this happen?
October 28th, 2003.
And Ms. Yeager is suing Mr. Sutton for $5,000 for both their out-of-pocket medical expenses and for pain and suffering. So now that I've given you the backdrop, because this is not difficult, the facts were not difficult, they were almost conceded by the parties, Mr. Sutton, I will hear you.
When my son had his break, he asked me to throw him up in the air. I caught him. Other kids saw it. They asked their parents if they could do it. I threw up 4 or 5 other kids before I got to Jacob. Jacob, I threw up. He pushed off my chest. I couldn't catch him or get to him as quick as possible. And that's when he fell and hit the ground. But he asked his dad for permission, because my son even saw him go over and ask him and hurt him.
Did you give permission to Mr. Sutton to throw your son up in the air?
No, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
Matt Reisenbeck.
What did you hear, Matt?
I heard Jacob walk up to his dad, and he asked his dad, he said, "Dad, could that guy throw me up?" And his dad said, "Yeah."
Okay, I like analogies. Let's say you were a very experienced archer. And what you used to do with your son was you would have him sit under a tree and put an apple on top of his head. And split the apple in 2 with your bow and arrow. And your son was used to that. And he would sit there very quietly, very still, and you thought it was okay to do that. And then Jacob said, "Oh, I want to do that." And let's say I believe your son, which I don't, that he heard him go over to his father and said, "Could I sit under a tree and let Mr. Sutton put an apple on top of my head and try to knock it off with an arrow?" And his father, in some psychotic break, said, "Sure." And Jacob sat under the tree. He put an apple on his head. Unfortunately, Jacob wasn't as good at it as your son, and he zigged. And you got him instead of the apple. Whose fault would that be? Jacob's?
No, ma'am.
His father's?
No, ma'am.
You get my point? Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't think that he did it on purpose. It was truly an accident.
I gave him the shirt off my back. I helped him until his mom got back to the field.
I got a phone call at home just stating that the accident had happened, and of course I immediately went to the field.
He flew me up in the air, like 7 feet in the air.
He had to have surgery the next day on both arms.
My soldier hit him, and then I fell.
I felt remorse.
We did notify Mr. Sutton and his family and his wife, and we never did receive responses back.
I lost her number from the soccer, and I couldn't get a hold of her.
Do not throw children. They're not toys. They're not balls. They're children. Do not throw them.
Complex owner Lance Kochan is suing his former tenant, 20-year-old photographer Trista Jeter, for an unpaid loan for breast implant surgery. Trista says the surgery was Lance's idea.
Yeah, this is case number 118 on the calendar in the matter of Kochan versus Jeter. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Kochan, is your claim that you made a loan to the defendant for her to have breast augmentation surgery?
Correct.
And in addition, you paid some of her bills while she was recuperating.
Yes.
You want to be reimbursed for this loan. Ms. Jeter says that there was no loan. You did this because you were sort of infatuated with her, and there was no expectation that you would ever be repaid for the money that you gave her. So let's just cut to the chase. Are you a very rich man?
I do all right.
Yes,
Well-
he is definitely a rich man.
We'll get to you in a second.
Okay.
Do you give to charity? Don't look down. That's a very simple question. The words, if you're a rich man,
No.
you don't. You don't. So you're not a philanthropist.
No.
So there had to be a reason, sir, why you decided to loan money to somebody that you weren't related to for a surgical procedure that was not necessary. You know, she wasn't having a kidney replaced. Why don't you tell me why you did that?
Well, she was a tenant of mine for a while. And when she moved in, she cleaned the apartment up that she lived in. She cleaned it up very well, better than most of the people I hired to do that. So as time went on, as apartments came available, I would ask her if she wanted to do it. and she was making $200 an apartment, doing one a day. You know, at her age, making $1,000 a week, it was pretty good money. We live in Las Vegas, and women with big breasts get better jobs. It's a fact.
She doesn't need that if she's just doing house cleaning.
Correct, but she doesn't want to be a housekeeper forever.
I assume not from the outfit she chose to wear to court that she doesn't want to be a house cleaner forever. You still don't answer my question, sir. My question was, why did you loan Miss Judy, your tenant/house cleaner, money for breast surgery?
Because she came to me and asked for it. And I thought it would be a good loan because at the time she was making a lot of money for me.
Well, tell me about the time she came to you, sir, and asked you for the loan.
We were at an apartment.
Okay,
and she basically said she got...
Okay, and when was this?
Early part of November of '03.
And you say to her, and she says to you, let me have it.
She says she doesn't like doing this anymore. She wants to get into something else, work in the casino. And if she had breast augmentation, it would help her get a good job. So at that time, she asked me for it.
What did she ask you?
To buy her, to loan her the money to get breast augmentation.
And you said?
I don't know. And it took a while, you know, a little bit of persistence over the next couple of weeks, till finally I gave in, said, okay.
Did you ever say to her, why don't you just put this on your credit card since you're making this kind of good money? You can pay off your credit card. Bada bing, bada boom.
'Cause
2 months.
She didn't have a credit card.
Well, she could pay off the doctor.
Doctor wouldn't finance her.
How do you know that?
Because she went to the doctor and the doctor said he wouldn't.
How do you know that?
She told me.
So then you asked her that question. Is that what you're telling me, Mr.
I pretty much assumed that.
No.
There's no way she could do that.
Don't listen to me. Don't assume anything. When I ask you a question, give me an answer. Not a makeup. Not a what you suppose.
Okay, what was the question one more time?
The question was, why couldn't she finance the surgery by paying off the doctor? And you said to me, because the doctor wouldn't accept payments. And I said, how do you know that? And you said, well, I just pretty much surmised.
Well,
so the answer is, I don't know.
It's my credit.
I didn't speak to you.
Okay.
You see, what I'm trying to figure out, Mr. Cochan, is if you're going to be honest with me, sir. You left out the fact that you and Miss Judy dated a few times, according to what I read here. Is that right?
Correct.
Well, why didn't you put that in? You made it appear as if this was a strictly business relationship, sir.
We went out a couple times. That wasn't a relationship.
How many times is a couple of times?
3. A couple dinners, a movie.
Okay. And at the time that you loaned her the money, when was the time immediately prior to that that you had been out on a date with her?
It was after that.
So after you loaned her the money, you went out on several dates?
3 dates.
Now, after December, did you try to see her again? Did you try to date again?
No, we just didn't really get along. We were just different people.
Is that right?
Definitely.
Did you ask her out again?
No.
Any particular reason for that?
We just didn't seem to get along. We didn't click.
Now, in January, I assume Miss Judy went back to work. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
How much money did she give you in January?
On January 12th, she cleaned an apartment for me, which I credit her $200.
Is that right, Miss Judy?
Yes.
Okay. When's next, Mr. Coachman?
Then on January 16th, which I assume she got paid on the 15th from her job at the time, she gave me $100. Then on February 1st, she gave me another $100. Mm-hmm. And then on February 14th, she gave me another $100. So she paid me back a total of $500.
Out of how much?
Out of a total of $5,050.
I'll hear you.
He pretty much put it in my head that he wanted to do that for me, okay? He gave me the idea since
How did he put that in your head?
Because I told him that what I wanted to do for a job, okay, and that was cocktail in Las Vegas. I've already been offered a job in Las Vegas to do that. And it's just easier to get a job having this operation done when I had nothing before. And so he said, well, yeah, you know, his ex-girlfriend had it done, and so he told me that that'd be a good idea. So he made me feel like it was okay to ask him to do that. Okay, as far as paying him back goes, nothing was supposed to come out of my pocket cash-wise. I was supposed to just clean his apartments out, but none came available after my operation was done. I was healed and everything. So I had to get a new job and just to pay my bills off, and I wanted to move because it's a bad area.
Yeah, but if I don't have a part...
Just a second.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Chan says former tenant Trista Jeter owes for a loan to have breast implant surgery.
What you're saying to me was it was a loan.
Okay.
And you were supposed to pay him back. Stop twisting your head. Can you keep your head still, please? You look like a
It just keeps
back
getting
of
in
a
my
car.
face. Sorry.
What you're telling me is that what you were supposed to do is pay him back in kind by cleaning the apartments for which you were paid $200 an apartment, and you were going to pay him back from that, but that after January, apartments didn't become available. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But you also, in the same breath, said to me that you wanted to get away from that area because it's a bad area. So was it your intention to go back to the complex to do cleaning to pay off this loan?
Yeah, that was before I had gotten my job already, that I had to have to pay the bills to pay to get out of that place.
But that new job, I assume, didn't leave you the same kind of free time as your previous work, if any, so that there was no time for you, even if apartments became available, to clean the apartments. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Get her a copy of my book.
He didn't
Gonna
his
get
part
her
of
a
the
copy
job
of the
as far
book.
as giving me work, okay? No apartments were available, so I had to get a job to where I could have money, and so I could pay my bills, and he didn't he didn't live up to his part of the bargain. So.
Yeah, but if apartment... I got
That
it.
was the...
I just laid it out. Sir, did you ever hear the story, there's no fool like an old fool? Right? Right. You're not so old, but you're pretty foolish. Better give your money to charity. Do you understand? There are all kinds of worthwhile charities around. The breast augmentation surgery doesn't fall under that category. Do I make myself clear? All right. She owes you $4,550. She doesn't dispute the amount, only that it was a loan. It was a loan. Pay it back. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I loaned her money and she didn't pay it back. So now we came to court and it's solved, and hopefully I'll get paid back now.
How do you live without money, right? And I have to pay bills, and, he's interfering with that, so.
No, we dated a few times and it didn't work out, and that was the end of it. We ended it.
I'm just glad it's over with, and I'll definitely never get myself in this situation again.
I guess justice prevailed. I won.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Matthews versus Hallmark. Step forward.
Department store worker Sharon Matthews is suing her friend's ex-boyfriend, mechanic George Hallmark, for damage to her car. Sharon claims George power braked, spraying her car with rocks.
What's your name?
Cynthia Dodd.
Dodd? Mm-hmm. I assume from what I read, Miss Matthews, that Miss Dodd was the friend that you were referring to in your complaint. Is that right? You were helping, according to you, Miss Dodd move out of Mr. Hallmark's residence. They had been boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right? She called you and asked you, or came over to your home and asked you if you would go over and accompany her while she retrieved some of her property.
Yes.
Because I assume, well, step up for a moment. I assume, Miss Dodd, that you were separating from Mr. Hallmark, and it was not a friendly separation. Is that right?
Correct.
How long had you been together?
About 7 months.
You were living in his house?
Yes.
Just the two of you?
Yes.
When did you decide to leave?
When he threw me out.
What date?
The 11th of February.
Had you had an argument?
Yeah, I was taking him to work, and he told me to get out of his car and just go away. So I called her mother-in-law and had her come pick me up.
Where did you have her pick you up?
Across the street from his work, where he put me out of his car.
And from there, where did you go?
To her mother-in-law's home.
Then there came a time when you went back to his house, is that right, to collect some of her property?
Yes.
And that was also on the 11th?
No, this was on the 23rd of February of this year.
Had you made arrangements with Mr. Hallmark to go back and get your things on that
Your
date?
Honor.
Tell me about that.
I called and asked him if it would be okay if I came and picked up a few things, and he said that'd be fine.
What things did you want to get?
Just some clothes.
You hadn't gotten any clothes?
No, ma'am.
Did Miss Dodd call you on the 23rd and ask you if she could come over, Mr. Hallmark?
Sure did.
And you said it was okay?
Yeah.
And what happened when she got there?
She got her things. As we were leaving, I pulled up next to her and I said, "Nice car, Sharon."
Okay. That's
all
what we're
this-
getting. Just a second. So You got your things inside.
Yes.
And it's your claim, Miss Matthews, that at some point during that interchange of property, Mr. Hallmark damaged your car.
Yes, he did.
Now we're going to take it step by step, because he says he didn't, and if he did, it was an old car, or it was an accident. You know, there are a couple of defenses here. He's going to give all of them to me when it's his turn, right?
Sure.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you went inside to the house, and you got your things.
Yes.
Did you have any words with him?
Yeah, I asked him to please not start yelling at me like he usually does and threatening me.
Well, what did you say to him, and what did he say to you? She was waiting outside. You were waiting outside?
Yes, I was waiting outside, and I told her, if anything happens, just yell really loud. Or otherwise, if you take too long, I will be up there to knock on the doors, because we got to go.
Okay. So she went into the house, you went and knocked at the door, and what happened, Miss Dodd, when you knocked at the door?
I asked George if it was all right if I came in and got some stuff, and he said that'd be fine. Then he asked me why I was doing this, and I said, because you threw me out. And I asked him, please stop yelling and don't,
Was he yelling at that point?
He's starting to raise his voice, and he's known to be loud.
Okay. What happened next?
And then he kind of calmed down, and so I finished getting my things, and I got outside.
You brought your things outside?
Correct. To Sharon's car.
Did you put them in the car?
Yes.
What happened next?
We started to back out, and he walked up to her and said, "Oh, nice car," because she'd just got her car.
No,
like
she
2
was
days.
You weren't in the car yet. You were over at your car in the front of the driveway.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
You. Was she in your car?
I was next to the car.
You were standing next to the car?
Yes.
Now tell me what happened.
Okay, because she had her vehicle that he had pushed out in the road and had towed away like the next day or something, but that's beside the point.
Well, then don't give me what's beside the point. I have to stick to the point. I'm old.
Okay, sorry, but okay, she had walked out to her vehicle and was trying to get into it, but she didn't have the keys, and that's when I backed out of the driveway. And after I backed out and I pulled up just towards her car, going the opposite direction, that's when George went out the driveway too, but he was going up next to my car, and that's when he said something like, "Nice car, does it run good," or something to that effect.
Did you answer him?
No, I didn't say anything. I just turned up my radio. And at that point, she came into my car and got in the vehicle because she didn't have the keys to her car. And he went around me, and at that point, it goes down to where it Y's off. You have to go one way or the other, and there's like dirt and gravel right there at the end of the street. Mm-hmm. And at that point, it seemed like a long time, but it was about 30 seconds where he had power braked his car, and he kept his foot on the brake and put his foot down on the gas and just kept burning out. It seemed like forever because I thought my window had broken quite a few times the way it cracked and it hit the windshield and it hit the front end of my car.
Pebbles?
Yeah, well, there's like rocks and dirt and everything down. It's not a very good street.
You have pictures of the damage to the car?
Yes, I have one picture on it.
What time of the day was this?
It was about approximately 7:30 p.m.
After he revved up his car and caused this debris to go on your car, did he leave?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hallmark, now I'll hear you, sir.
Pardon me?
I'll hear you.
Can you repeat that?
I will hear you.
Okay. What do you want to hear?
I want to hear your version of the events of the 23rd of February, sir.
Yeah? Here's a picture of the corner.
No. I don't want to see a picture of the
You don't
corner. I
wanna
want
see
you
a
to
picture
tell
of the
me what
corner?
happened.
She came, got her stuff. She was putting her stuff in the car, and I pulled up next to her and I go, "Oh, nice car, way to go." I went on up to the corner and took off. I punched the gas, and it got rocks. But she was still putting her gun in the trunk. And I don't know. The next thing she never asked me to repair it. She never showed me the damage.
What kind
Next
of work?
thing I know, I get this
Stop
paperwork.
Stop it. What kind of
that
work?
I'm being sued.
Mr. Hallmark, what kind of work do you do for a living, sir?
Mechanic.
What kind of mechanic?
Mechanic.
Well, there are all
Automotive,
kinds of mechanics.
trucks.
Automotive.
Equipment.
Okay. Are you self-employed or do you work for someone?
Yeah, self-employed.
Where do you work out of, sir?
My house.
So you have a garage in your house?
No, I have a garage at my house.
Did you file tax returns last month?
You know what? You guys can laugh at someone else. I'm out of here.
Okay. Ms. Matthews, the defendant has chosen to leave, but I've heard enough after hearing the facts of this case and seeing his demeanor and temper, to determine that he maliciously caused damage to your car.
Your Honor,
And he-
I'm sorry, ma'am.
You're suing for $700 for a paint job? That's a reasonable amount. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. We'll see someone escorts you out. Thank you.
Can
That's
you make
all.
sure he's not out there?
Yes, we'll
Thank
make
you.
sure someone escorts you outside.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's very unpredictable.
That's exactly him. He's crazy. He's very irrational.
He has mood swings very badly.
He's a crazy man.
Account manager Fred Grande is suing the mother of his child, 25-year-old waitress Mariam Wahab, for the return of an engagement ring. Mariam claims the ring was a birthday gift.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 60 on the calendar, the matter of Grande versus Wahab. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. Grande, you want the engagement ring back, and the defendant says it was not an engagement ring but a birthday Christmas present, right?
That's correct.
Can I see the receipt for the ring? Okay, well, the first thing I have to ascertain is, Mr. Grande, you are suing her for $699 for the return of the value of the ring, and you only paid $359.11 for it. What's the other money for?
Okay, originally the $699 is the retail value of the ring. I did have it appraised, and the total that I did pay on it is $385, and that's the total amount that I did pay into it. So that's what I would be seeking, is $385.
But didn't you think I'd figure that out?
Yeah.
I mean, when you filed your lawsuit, didn't you think that I'd figure out that you were seeking twice as much as you paid for the ring?
Well,
you are the only human being in history who buys a ring from a jewelry store and it doubles in value in a relatively short period of time. All right, so you're not seeking $700 for the ring, you're seeking $359.11.
That's correct.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with shooting big, though.
Oh, I shoot big too, sir. Okay, so now we know what your lawsuit is about, Mr. Grande. You and the defendant have a child together, is that right?
We do.
And how old is that child?
She's 16 months.
And you share custody of her?
We do.
I have full custody.
Shh, don't speak out. Okay. I'm really good at getting information. It's really my strong suit. I'm really good at getting quality, accurate information. But I like to get it from the person who I choose to get it from. Okay. Do you have joint custody, sir?
She has sole custody. I have joint legal custody, though.
Okay, so she has sole physical custody. She takes care of all the problems, and you can say, I have joint legal custody.
Somewhat.
See, I told you I shoot big. So you had a long-term relationship with her?
Yeah, over 2 years.
Oh, lifetime. And in the 2 years that you were together, you managed to have a relationship, have a baby, and separate. Is that right?
Correct.
And since I assume, Mr. Grande, that you have been to court, if you have joint legal custody, despite the fact that she has physical custody, I also assume that there is a support order.
There is.
And how much is the support order?
It's for $337 a month, but right now I'm currently paying $500.
Well, $337 a month is the support order, and if you're paying $500, there must have been some arrears.
Correct.
Which means that you weren't paying for a while.
Not necessarily, no.
Well, that's what arrears are, sir. Arrears are fixed by the court.
Correct.
If, for a period of time, you are not paying support. Don't you think that they put me here for a reason?
Oh, I understand.
You think that I was a go-go dancer before I got this job? I was not. I was a judge in the family court. Arrears are when you don't pay support. They fix on and they tack on an additional amount for that period of time that you didn't pay support.
It's not from lack of payment, though. We originally went to court in June, and she felt that the $250 wasn't sufficient, so then we didn't get to court and finalize until September. So
Just a minute. She felt what $250 wasn't sufficient?
Originally, the support order was set at $250, and she didn't feel that.
Okay. So originally, a court set child support at $250, or you were paying it voluntarily?
It hadn't been set in any decree yet.
Fine. So you were giving her voluntarily, according to you, $250 a month.
She didn't get any money until September, until the final decree was established.
Now, the final decree was what? $337?
Correct.
Well, you just said to me they felt that $250 wasn't enough.
It was for back payments, $337 times all the months since the original court date of June. So that's why I was, from the start, I was $1,400.
What was this $250 that you were talking to me about, Mr. Grande?
That's what our lawyers had come to agreement, and we thought that's what the amount should have been set at.
Mr. Grande, is what you're telling me from the time you and the defendant separated until the time the court fixed an order of support, you were not paying any money?
No.
So, what I said to you was, your support order is $337, and because you were dingling around, they added another amount to cover the arrears for when you weren't paying any money. And you ought to respond, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how long was it that you were separated, Mr. Grande, before the court set an order of support?
She moved out in February 2002.
Yes, and when did the court make a support order?
September of 2002.
February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So for 8 months, you didn't pay any support. Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Now let's get to this $350 engagement ring, the Hope Diamond that you bought for her. Can I see the ring? That looks like a pretty ring. Doesn't look like any sort of an engagement ring I ever saw. Engagement ring usually has one nice stone right there in the middle that just sits there and smiles at you. Give this back to her until I decide what to do with it, would you? When's your birthday?
December 18th.
And is it on December 18th every year?
Yes.
It doesn't change dates. You know,
Right.
2002 it's December 18th, 2003 it's December 18th, right?
Right.
So, Mr. Grande, you're going to explain to me, sir, how serendipitously, that means just by accident, sort of, you purchased this ring at the jewelry store on December 18th, 2002.
Coincidence.
Coincidence.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. He says his ex-fiancée, Mariam Wahab, owes for the return of an engagement ring. Mariam says the ring was a birthday gift.
Tell me what happened when you gave her the ring in December of 2000, December 18th, 2002, or whenever you gave it
It's
to her.
not when I gave it to her, but I'll explain
When did you
to
give it to her?
I took myself, her mother, her brother, and his wife, and my mother out to dinner, and that's when I presented the ring to her.
Explain to me how you did that.
Well, we sat down before we got the food. I opened the case, showed it to her, and I said, will you marry me? I didn't say happy birthday. I didn't say Merry Christmas. I said, will you marry me?
And what did she say?
Well, of course, she said yes.
I would have thought twice.
If she said no, she wouldn't be wearing the ring, right?
Okay. Okay, good. So that's how it happened.
Correct.
And that was on what date, sir?
I would say it was about December 20th.
And you remember that distinctly?
I know it was
remember,
after her
no,
birthday,
you
yes.
remember, no, do you remember distinctly exactly how it happened? Because
Yes, I do.
we're not talking so long ago, right?
No.
So you remember that day and that dinner clearly.
I do.
And you would remember something that happened the day before also clearly. Is that right?
I would.
Your daughter wasn't born yet, is that right?
She wasn't.
But the defendant was pregnant at the time.
She was due very soon.
So she was very pregnant at
Sure.
the time. So it was an exciting time, and you would remember that time. What did you get for the defendant for her birthday, December of 2002, 2 days before you gave her the ring?
I believe it was some clothes.
No, you're not, you believe. I'm going to give you a minute to just sit back and think about it. Her birthday, your girlfriend, who's very pregnant, going to have your baby, who you love desperately, who you had bought a ring for, 2 days before you gave it to her, was celebrating a birthday on December 18th. And birthdays are really important when you have a new relationship, so you wouldn't think of not getting her something for her birthday.
Correct.
So now I want you to think really hard and tell me what you bought her for her birthday. Think hard. Why don't you put on your thinking cap?
I believe
hard.
it was a sweater and an outfit.
Was it a maternity sweater or a regular sweater?
It was a regular sweater.
Was it a maternity outfit or a regular outfit?
It was regular.
Was it a daytime outfit or an evening outfit?
Daytime. Well, I know what you're getting at. I do.
You do?
I do.
Then if you do, then why don't you just, instead of lying...
Well, because if...
No, listen to me. Instead of lying and making things up as you're going, why don't you just say, quite frankly, Judge, I don't remember. I'm sure I bought her a birthday present on her birthday, but quite frankly, I don't remember, instead of standing there like a jerk and making things up.
I don't think that's the case.
What do you mean you don't think that's the case? You don't think that I know that you just stood there and made up the fact that you got her a sweater and an outfit for her birthday?
I was planning on giving her the ring around her birthday and before Christmas. I mean, it's not like I was making the best money, at that time, so.
Mr. Grande, don't you understand what I just said to you? I said that you lied when you just told me that you got her a sweater and an outfit for her birthday, when in fact, you just told me now that you got her nothing else because you were planning on giving her a ring around her birthday. And I said to you, don't stand there and make things up as you're going along because it makes you look ridiculous. Now, do you want to explain to me how you got this ring?
Yes, it was on my birthday, December 18th. We went to dinner that night on my birthday. It was my mom, my brother, his girlfriend. He didn't give it to me where anybody else could see it. He handed me the box under the table and didn't say anything. He never asked me to marry him, nothing like that. And I took it and then I brought it above the table and I showed everybody else, and that was it. Okay. And he gave me the receipt to go get it sized.
That's how you have the receipt?
Right.
Okay. When did you separate?
February 18th. It was 2003. It was after I had the baby. She was 2 months old.
And when for the first time did he ask you for the ring back?
He sent me an email probably around December. I'm not sure of the month, but it was
December
a while ago.
Can I see? Is that the email? May I have it, please?
And he asked me for it back.
Oh. It's kind of colorful language, so
Oh, I can take it. Now, when did you separate, Mr. Grande?
She moved out in February.
February of what year?
2003.
And this was sent on February 2004, a year later.
Mm-hmm.
And this was after you had been in court, is that right? Because I see you've got lawyers here.
Mm-hmm.
So after you were taken to court and you were given a support order in the amount of $500 a month, which includes arrears, we got this. Is that right?
Correct.
Too bad.
They didn't address
I have
that.
to make
There's
a determination. I'm speaking. I have to make a determination whether the ring that you gave her a year and a half ago was a birthday present or an engagement present. So let's try to look at certain objective data. A, we had a relationship that had come to a point when there was going to be a permanent commitment because you had a child together. B, I find that it was not serendipitous that this ring was purchased on the day of her birthday, and I believe her and not you that it was the 18th of December when the family went out to dinner to celebrate her birthday, and not you taking the family out to dinner to present her with an engagement ring. When it was presented to her, it was just given to her exactly as she said as it was given to her, which is
under the table.
Under the table. Here it is. She took it out and showed it to everybody.
We hadn't.
I find that,
No.
furthermore,
No.
if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It doesn't look like an engagement ring. It looks like a ring.
Judge, we had an engagement party. This is important, though.
I'm speaking.
Do I have a chance when you're done?
No. You had your chance, she had her chance. Now I'm ruling. Now you have to be quiet.
There was an engagement party in
Now you have
Virginia.
to be quiet. Do you understand? Now you have to be quiet. Most importantly, sir, how you have the audacity to sue her for a $300 ring when for 6 months you paid not 1 penny in child support, not a penny, is something, quite frankly, Mr. Grande, that I don't understand. And your demand for the engagement ring back, engagement ring is in quotes, made a year after you separated at a time when she was taking you to court for support is outrageous. And before I would come to court, when I had committed an outrageous act to seek the return of a $300 ring, I would take a good stiff drink and think twice about where my morals are. Your case is dismissed, Mr. Grande. Thank you very much.
Party's are excused. You may step out.
He thought I started dating other people, and that's when he got mad and asked for his ring back, and I said no.
We had an engagement party in Virginia, which didn't get brought up. Was that a fake engagement party? I doubt it.
Right. We just tried to make it look good, like I was getting married before I was pregnant, before I told him I was pregnant.
I take care of my child. I pay support. I've never missed a payment.
As far as the child support, for example, he tries to get over on everybody as much as he can, and like this. But in the end, he always ends up looking stupid.
John and Cynthia Frazee are suing John's former client, Cynthia Booth, and her fiancé, Dwayne Burnley, for posting damaging reviews.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Why are you
Case
coming?
2079, Frazee versus Burley Booth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Frazee, you are an electrician by trade.
Correct.
And how long have you been in that business, sir?
Since 1986 as a license and 1978
as an electrician.
Now, maybe a decade ago, you're going to give me the exact year, month and year. You were called to do a job for this lady. Your last name is?
Booth.
Miss Booth. And you did an electrical job for her. We'll go into it more fully in a minute. When you were doing that job, you brought in a helper. This gentleman whose name is Mr. Burnley.
That's correct.
And before you brought in Mr. Burnley, I gather from the papers, Mr. Burnley did not know Miss Booth. Would that be a fair statement?
That's a fair statement, but he did not bring me in. I was actually just driving down the street, and I'm new to the mountain, and I drove by and saw Mr. Frazee there, and I was...
Listen, this is not Gone with the Wind. This is not War and Peace. I asked you a simple question. Before you were brought in on the job, you didn't know Miss Booth.
That's correct.
Right. And that was about 10 years ago.
Correct.
Since that time, since you were brought in on the job, you and Miss Booth have gotten to know each other a lot better.
Correct.
And I assume that by a lot better, that the two of you live together.
Correct.
And you've been living together for how long?
Since November.
Of this last year.
Yes.
November of 2021. But prior to that, you were social friends.
Correct.
And that social friendship started when first introduced to her at this job. It's the first time you met her.
Oh, that's the first time I met her, correct.
Correct. This is your problem, and this is the nature of your lawsuit. You allege that you did a job for Miss Booth almost a decade ago, and you came to ascertain that Miss Booth and or Mr. Burnley had written some negative reviews about your company, currently wrote negative reviews about your company based on work that you did 10 years ago.
Yes.
That's your complaint. And you asked them to take them down. First they did, then they didn't. You found other ones posted in different areas. Now, Mr. Burnley, are you a working man, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrical contractor in Big
Okay. Now, at the time that you first met Mr. Frazee, did you have your own company?
Yes.
You had your own company?
Yes.
In what year did you do Miss Booth's job?
I did it on April 30th, 2013, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
That's not correct.
Shh. Month and year, you say you did the job.
The job was done on May 9th of 2013.
Okay, so we're off by a month. Is that right? I don't care. You were talking about 9 years ago.
Correct.
Now, tell me something about the job. What was the nature of the electrical job that you were doing?
An older home needs to have at least a minimum of a 100 amp service. Ms. Booth's home had a 70 amp service at the time. She was purchasing it, and that came up on the inspection report to replace that, which I was engaged to do.
So far correct?
No.
Well, now I'll have your version. Did you have to upgrade the electric?
I had to upgrade due to a homeowner's insurance.
Okay.
That's
well,
what they required.
What's the difference in what he said? He said that you had to have your electricity upgraded. And it came up in the inspection report.
It did not come in an inspection report.
Well, then how did they find out?
Who found out about it? With my policy.
What do you mean you were honest with your policy?
Well, they asked me what year the house was and what amperage it had, and I said 75.
And your insurance company said to you it has to be 110.
100.
Or 100.
Yes.
Before you could move into the house, for one reason or another, you had to upgrade the electric.
Correct.
Okay, and you hired Mr. Frazee to do that.
Yes, they were my friends.
I don't care whether he was your friend or not. If he was your friend and he was a vet, you wouldn't have hired him to do your electrical work.
Of course
He was
not.
your friend and he was an electrical contractor.
Right, correct.
And when he came to your house to look at the job, did he come alone or with a helper?
Alone.
Once you change the ampage in a house, do you have to get somebody from either the county or the city where you live to sign off on it? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
And once Mr. Frazee did that, modified the ampage, did you have an inspection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have that inspection?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
And the job was not...
I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
That also includes Mr. Burnley's inspection.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
Don't volunteer. I'm old. I get confused. I try to keep these things very linear, so even I understand them. This is the inspection sign-off on the work that you did in 2013. Have you seen it? Yes,
No.
Of course you have.
No.
Well, show it to them. You do remember that you had to have an inspection afterwards.
Of course.
Ms. Booth.
Of course.
Okay, it's just common sense. If you didn't have the work done and you said to your insurance company, I had the work done, the insurance company would say to you, show me proof that you had the work done, otherwise we're not giving you insurance.
Correct.
So you know you had an inspection after he completed the work.
It wasn't after the work.
The work was never...
Shh. I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
But I will answer for you.
She wasn't.
You can.
Okay.
You can. So the insurance company accepted your word that the work was done?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have that back, please?
And I did tell them I had it signed off, but it was signed off when the job was half done.
That's your problem. You want to sign off when something's half done? Fine. I wouldn't sign off when my hair was half dry. I'm saying...
John and Cynthia Frazee claim John's former client, Cynthia Booth, and her fiancé, Dwayne Burnley, slandered their business. Dwayne is countersuing for filing a wrongful lawsuit.
Now, my next question to you is, after 2013, did you perform electrical work for Miss Booth in her house? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask you, what was the nature?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't remember.
You mean, just a second, you remember the work that you did when Mr. Frazee was there in 2013, when you were with him, but you don't remember the nature of the work that you did for your girlfriend in 2018?
I'm pretty sure it was a panel upgrade.
Just a second. I want you to think. What kind of work did you do for Miss Booth in 2018?
It must have been the panel upgrade that I did at her house. I changed the 100 amp out to a 200.
Sure, look at me.
Because that would be...
Look at me.
I'm sorry.
So you changed the 100 amp. Shh. This is not my strong suit, and I have to tell you something. Of the 100 million people who are watching this, they're going out to get a cup of coffee right now. You changed the 100 amp that he had done in 2013 to a 200 amp. You upgraded it in 2018.
And put a surge protection system
And a
in her
surge
house.
protection.
Yeah, now I do recall.
Great. When was the first negative review that you can show me written about your company? Now we got what's going on. Now I have it
Your
clear.
Honor.
Do you have it clear?
I think a little bit more fuzzy than you, but clear enough.
Do you have it clear?
I have it clear now.
You have it clear? Well, just to make it crystal clear, Mr. Frazee did work at Miss Booth's home in 2013. It was electrical work. It was electrical work performed by him with the help of Mr. Burnley, because in order to get a homeowner's policy on her new house, she had to upgrade to satisfy, according to you, only insurance.
Correct.
That's what you say, from 70 to 100 amps.
Yes.
Look, it's a whole little thing at my age, I'm learning. Now, evidently, they liked what they saw in 2013, and that materialized into a romance. Good for you. And in 2018, I assume he was living there?
No.
When did he move in?
November of...
November of last year.
Yes.
Okay. But you were dating in 2018?
Yes.
Yes. In 2018, Mr. Burnley, not with the help of the plaintiff, replaced and upgraded the 100 amp to 200 amp, which is much better because I know that I have 200. That's, you have to plug things in. It's 110, 220, right?
Yeah.
110, 220. And he put in a surge protector. Now, even I know what a surge protector is. Correct me if I'm mistaken. That means if there's an overload, a lightning strike, whatever it is, it protects it so the whole board doesn't fry and everything turns off, and then you have to replace all the wires go zzz. Am I right? Right. So he upgraded the system, and touch of necessity, what Mr. Frazee did in 2013. No question, had to do that. Now I'd like to see the negative reviews and when they started.
The first one we found was in 2019, Your Honor.
Well, are these in order? This was...
That's the most current one that was in February of 2022.
Did you write this? Frazee Electric. He was supposed to do a panel change and never put rods in, and fried my electronics in my home and garage opener. Left such a mess and never cleans up.
That's correct.
Did you write that?
Yes, I did.
When? In what year?
It's about 3 years ago.
3 years ago, 2018.
Approximately.
About when he changed the electrical
Yes,
system. Just a second.
Okay.
About when he changed the electrical system. All right, then you wrote something. I will not even write this company 1 star due to the unprofessionalism in completion of work. Hired this electrician to do a 100-watt panel, never grounded, never finished, and left a mess. He's known for not cleaning up. Had to hire another electrical contractor that was most professional. Now, when did you write that review?
About the same time.
2018?
Yes, on a different review.
That was a different one. And you said that you had to hire another electrical contractor.
Yes, I
to
did.
finish the job. And who was that?
That was DMB Electric.
That was him?
Yes, I called
Just a second.
2 competitors.
Just a second. In what year did you call them?
Oh, this was...
No, in what year did you call him?
2013.
After he left, you called them?
I called 2 other contractors.
Just a second. Did you end up using Mr. Burnley?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So back in 2013, you were dissatisfied with this company.
Yes.
Let me follow this. 2013, you were dissatisfied with the company. You called another company.
2 other.
Just a second. You called another company, but the county had signed off on your job.
Yes.
What you say in your answer is that they signed off erroneously on the job. Well,
yes.
I have to take at face value they're signing off that the job was completed. And I assume you got your homeowner's insurance.
Yes, I did.
After he left and after you had the county sign off.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But they...
Now, just a second. Now, don't tell me a but.
No.
Now, 5 years later, because this was written in 2018.
Correct.
5 years later, you're now dating Mr. Burnley.
Correct.
Who's now living with you.
No.
Who had, well, you say you moved in 2021.
Oh, 21.
Yes.
Yeah, who's now living with you. You began dating in 2018.
That's correct.
And Mr. Burnley, who is now living with you, and in 2018, you woke up one morning and said, who now has his own electrical company, woke up and said, 5 years ago, Mr. Frazie's company and he did not do a professional job in my panel. And now we're dating. And now all these negative reviews come, not in 2013 when we, Sarah, you have Yelp and all those things in 2013?
I'm not sure if I can get back that far, but I could search.
And I wasn't aware of Yelp.
I don't care what you were aware of.
Okay.
You mean you woke up in 2019 and found out that you could give a star or a review? That's the first time you found that out? I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Well, it's
I just
true.
want to tell you something. I don't believe you. I don't believe that when you want to go to a restaurant, Miss Booth, and it's a new restaurant, you don't take a look on your computer and say, I wonder how many stars it got. I wonder if there are any reviews on this resort.
Yes.
Well, then you were smart enough to do this.
My sons are in IT, so they
I want to tell you something. I don't believe you.
Okay.
Because I'm older than you are. And I know about this, and she can tell you I'm an idiot on the machine.
Well,
I don't buy it. And I don't buy, actually. Yeah, it is.
I can't see any of her reviews.
No.
But there are reviews on Yelp of his business that all are very positive.
I have them if you'd like to see them.
I will look at
And
them.
I have negative reviews that says the exact same thing what Cindy posted.
Just a second. You don't understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Burnley. I'm saying to you that it was nasty and malicious, because if she was unhappy with the service, it would have been posted in 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17. And it wasn't until the two of you were hoochie-coochieing that all of a sudden we got negative reviews about a job they did 9 years before. That's ridiculous. It's mean-spirited.
Electrician John Frazee has accused his former client, Cynthia Booth, of posting damaging reviews years after the job was completed.
It's mean-spirited.
That's not correct.
Just a second. You say it's not correct.
Well,
I'm looking at the timeline. I'm looking at an inspector's report.
Right.
Who is a disinterested party, who signed off on an electrical work. I'm listening to Mr. Burnley, who 5 years later did work that replaced his work from 100 amps to 200 amps with a surge protector, and all of a sudden, you start writing negative reviews about their company. That's the timeline. And if you want to try to fill me in and make me feel as if I made a mistake, I'll give you 30 seconds to do it.
Yes, we started seeing each other in 2014. And my sons are in IT administration, and they had told me, Mom, you don't know
don't
about
tell me
Yelp?
what your sons, don't tell me what your sons told you.
I didn't know about Yelp or Google reviews and back at that time, because I'm not computer savvy.
You want to know something? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I'm almost 80 years old, a lot older than you are. And I know that if I want to look something up, which I do occasionally, I look something up and I say, did so-and-so eat at this fish restaurant? It's a new place, it's a new town. I'm going to go there and take a look at it. I know how to do that. And I'm an idiot, and I'm an idiot. And if you just found it out, if you just found out how to do it, then there was no reason for your first review to be about his company.
No.
About a job that was done.
There's 91 other reviews I've posted.
Just a second. Positive or negative?
Positive.
Are you sleeping with any other electrician?
No, I'm not.
Just a second. That's the end. All those positive reviews that you posted, did any of them have to do with people that you're sleeping with? That's a question.
No,
No,
of course not.
Of course not.
I'm not that kind of girl.
What I'm telling you is the timeline doesn't make sense. These nasty reviews written about a job that started 9 years before, in this case, 6 years before, now that you are sleeping with a head of an electrical company, don't make sense. And my nose tells me if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Now, when you came back a month later, what else did you do? Didn't clean up a mess. Just a second. Didn't clean up a mess.
Yes, I cleaned up the mess.
You cleaned up what
My
mess?
mess. He
your
doesn't
mess.
clean up his mess.
Well, you didn't. That's what she told you.
No, I have other reviews of other people on the internet that posted that.
I'm asking you a question. You didn't clean up his mess.
I didn't clean up his mess. I misunderstood you.
Okay, well, that's what I said.
sorry.
You didn't clean up his mess.
No, I cleaned up his mess.
And didn't write a review.
Well, I didn't know about Yelp.
I'm telling you, you can say it until the cows come home.
not
I don't
true, Your
believe
Honor.
you. I don't believe you. And I don't believe that the first year that you found out to write a review is when you and Mr. Burnley started a relationship. I just don't believe it.
No.
And I think it's mean-spirited. You have to know, Miss Booth, I think it's mean-spirited.
But we were seeing each other in 2014.
You were seeing each other in 2014.
Yes.
You have a company, sir?
Yes, I
do. You
do.
have a company?
Yes.
Are you licensed?
Yes.
What's the name of your company?
DMB Electric Inc.
Just would you take a look at that, Sarah?
It'll be under DMB Electric Services Inc.
And in what year was your company formed?
This one, 2013.
He had a prior
I had a prior one.
2013.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was that before or after you did her job with him? Before
The
or
license-
after?
I had the license before.
No, the company. I said, was the
Yes,
company
the company
formed?
was established.
Careful, because she's a whiz with the computer.
No, that's good.
Was your company formed before?
Yes, Your Honor.
Before you did the job with him?
Yes.
Okay, in what month in 2013?
I don't know.
Are you
what day.
guessing?
Yeah, I'm going
Are
to
you
guess
guessing?
January. Yes.
Was it before or after you did the job with the plaintiff? If you don't know the answer, say, I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay, now.
The business was incorporated March 20th of 2013.
Does it have any reviews?
Only 4 from the past 2 years on Yelp, all positive.
By the way, did you ever write a review for him? Did you ever write a review for Mr. Burnley's company? Is not an answer. Did you ever write a review for Mr. Burnley's company? Stop shaking your head, Mr. Burnley. Did you ever write a review for Mr. Burnley's company?
No.
No.
Okay. I don't know what it is that you didn't understand. Sir, you didn't say much. You don't have to say much. I got what went on here, and I think it was mean-spirited, and you're suing for $10,000.
Yes, Your
I
Honor.
think that their reviews and the abuse of the critique of your business warrants the award of $10,000. You have a counterclaim. Which one of you has a counterclaim?
I do.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I think that you were a co-conspirator in her writing these reviews.
Not.
Counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
Your Honor.
This court
We're
is
done.
adjourned.
During the COVID shutdown, when nobody had any work in a small community of 5,500 people, that's what they chose to do.
Hey, I'm glad it's behind me, man. That's all I can say.
He was just getting his license, and I helped him begin his business, and this is how he serves me.
I agree with the judgment, but why $10,000? That seemed a little high for me.
You can permanently hurt somebody's business, their livelihood, if you write a negative review. Because people more and more rely on the internet when they seek a service, rely on somebody else to say, I've had a good experience or I've had a bad experience. I believe, based upon the timeline that we heard, that the defendants wrote these reviews for a reason other than bad electrical work. Because if there was bad electrical work, that would have shown itself between 2013 and 2018 when her fiance redid the whole system.
Or it wouldn't have passed the inspection.
Or it wouldn't have passed the inspection. So that, to me, is malicious. I think you have to get a real wake-up call. And to me, $500 doesn't do it. It's malicious, and I don't think he has to show any real damages other than the reputation of his business has been sullied by someone for malicious reasons having nothing to do with work that was performed 9 years before. And I'm perfectly comfortable with that judgment.
Brooke Batiste is suing her ex-roommate, Adrian Carter, for property damage, breaking a lease, and a dog attack.
Court coming to order. All rise.
Be seated, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2080, Baptiste versus Carter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Batiste, you and Miss Carter were roommates.
Yes, ma'am.
From when to when?
From October 7th to April 1st. Actually, May.
And it is your claim that Miss Carter vandalized certain property of yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Most specifically, a very expensive couch.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had an argument, and that during the course of this argument, her dog bit you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And for breaching the lease, because she left.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but it was a good thing that she left, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You were happy that she left. Her dog bit you. She vandalized the sofa. You were very happy that she
left. Yeah.
You were very happy. So we're going to eliminate that breach of the lease part.
No.
Oh, yes, we're going to eliminate the breach of the lease part because you were happy that she left.
I didn't want her to live in the same situation as her, but being that the rent was so expensive, it wouldn't have been my best interest for her to leave.
It's with her to stay with her dog that bit you.
Right.
I mean, I don't want you to sound ridiculous to me, okay?
Right.
All right, let's not sound ridiculous to me. Normal person, if they were bitten by their roommate's dog, and if their roommate vandalized their property, that roommate would be happy to see them go.
But I'm not happy with the expensive rent by myself.
Well, of course, but your choice would be staying with her and her dog that bit you.
But if her name's on the lease...
Just a second. That's between her and the landlord. I just told you, I'm sticking with vandalizing and dog bite. So tell me when this dog bite took place.
It's on March 29th.
What kind of dog was it, by the way?
It was a Belgian Malinois.
What do they look like?
It looks like a German Shepherd.
Is that what you have, Miss Carter? A Belgian
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. A Belgian Malinois, like a police dog.
So it looks like a German Shepherd?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a large dog?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you moved in together, you moved in with the dog?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So tell me what happened March 29th.
Okay, so before March 29th, Adrian and I got in a petty argument. It was dumb. We made up. In the argument, she confessed to me that...
No, just a minute. You engaged in a petty argument, and then you made up.
Yes.
And the petty argument was on what date?
It was on the March 27th.
And you made up?
Yes.
Okay. On the 27th, what were you arguing about?
My dog tore up the carpet, and she sent this long paragraph, and we were just going back and forth, and we realized it was dumb, so we decided to drop it. And that's when she confessed to...
On the 27th?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were arguing about the dog, and then on the 27th, after you were over the argument about the dog, is that what you're telling me? Be very careful.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
She confessed that she gave the guy that I was seeing a lap dance.
And?
And I immediately cut all ties with her.
So you cut all ties with her how?
I stopped speaking to her.
Even though you were roommates?
Yes.
Okay.
After I stopped talking to her, social media posts were made.
By whom?
Adrian.
Okay. Social media posts were made. Do you have those?
No, I do not.
Do you have those?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Why don't you have them if this is your case?
They erase, but I have other things that I think you would want to see.
I'm going in order. This is a case. So don't try to creep into my mind. Even say in your complaint a couple of days later, there were things posted on social media. And is what you're telling me that they were erased?
Right. I didn't save anything that she posted.
Oh, never mind. I don't have to see anything, correct?
Correct.
So you didn't save anything?
No, ma'am.
Then you have no evidence of anything that happened
So
later.
I saw that she had no remorse for what she did. Then I made social media posts. Adrian was mad that I made social media posts. So the next morning, she's yelling at the top of her lungs at 10 in the morning. I wake up to see what she's yelling about. And she's just saying how I'm a and I shouldn't have posted what I posted. And we were just arguing about the situation. And I asked, how could she do this to me? It was a very heated argument. She was yelling at the top of her lungs. I was yelling at the top of my lungs. During the argument, her dog is going crazy. And while we were arguing, we were pretty close. The dog bit me, and I said, you need to get your dog. She said, no, your dog's good. And we continued to argue. The dog came to bite me again, and that's when I grabbed what was behind me, which was a paper towel holder, and I chucked it at the dog.
So the dog bit you on the arm?
Yes, ma'am, twice.
Okay. I would like to see a medical report on that.
Okay. All right, I have a photo of the bite, the antibiotics, and then this is the report.
Would you show this to Miss Carter, please?
Your Honor, I know she has a video of the entire incident, if you'd rather.
It's not her obligation to prove your case, as my law clerk so aptly told me of the last case. Not her obligation, it's your obligation. Okay. So, go ahead.
After her dog bit me, I immediately grabbed my dog and I go to the hospital. I filled out
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Doberman.
Where was your Doberman when this was going on?
He was in the cage and he's still a baby as well. So I went to the hospital, got treated. While I was at the hospital, Adrian called the police and she said that I attacked her dog.
Don't tell me what she said to the police unless you have a police report.
Yes, ma'am, I have a police report.
Then I'd like to see the police report. That's an official business record.
So this is the first police report for the dog bite.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so April 19th, this day, Adrian knocked on my door.
No, April 19th? What was April 19th? I thought you moved out on April 1st.
No, she moved out on April 19th.
So is what you're saying after all this altercation, she moved out?
Yes, ma'am.
And stayed in the apartment with her dog from the 29th to April 19th?
Yes, ma'am. And I went to a friend's house the day the dog bit me, and then I went home for a week, and then that's when I came back, and this second incident happened.
So after the dog bit you, you did not go home. You took your dog and left.
Yes, ma'am.
And stayed at whose house for a week?
I stayed at a friend that lives an hour away from my current apartment.
On what date did you return?
So I stayed one night at a friend's house, and then I returned, and then I went home for a week. So
when you went, stop playing with papers.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you went home for the day, was the defendant at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any conversations with her?
No, ma'am.
Just stayed out of her way and packed a few things and left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to stay?
At home in Alabama.
With your family?
Yes, ma'am. Until things cooled down, basically.
Okay, and when did you go back?
I went back, I believe, April 17th.
And what happened when you went back on the 17th?
A few days later, April 19th, Adrian was knocking on my door at 9 a.m. in the morning saying that I need to come to the leasing office because there's a new roommate here. I told her no, and then that's when she started threatening me and calling me all these kinds of names. So I take my dog again, I go outside, and I call an officer, and that's also when I called my mom, and she convinced me to go up there to speak with the new roommate to see, who they were.
What new roommates? Just a second.
She tried to get 2 young girls to replace her on the lease.
And it was unsatisfactory?
Yes, ma'am.
So far, I have a dog bite and
yes, ma'am.
Couch.
So after I said no to the 2 roommates, one didn't have a job, they looked young, I said no. I went back home. 10 minutes later, Adrian...
Home? You mean to your folks'
To our
house?
apartment.
Oh, to your apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So 10 minutes later, Adrian comes in. I was in the room with my door locked. I hear Adrian yelling. I hear her throwing things. She's saying, I can't believe you did that. You really just did that. I don't care. I'm still moving out. I'm still leaving. I'm not paying rent. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't come out the room because last time it got crazy, so I just said I would let her do what she does, and I will let the authorities handle it.
She did come out the room, Your Honor.
When I finally came out the room, which I have a video, and came out, she had moved the couch in front of the door so I couldn't get out of my room. And
well, how did you get out?
I jumped over it. And the trash can was flipped upside down. I have pictures of all the damage that she did to the house and videos.
Well, I'd like to see them, please. And I would like to see the damage to the couch, which is your major complaint.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the damages, and then I have a video of the entire incident right here.
Brooke Batiste claims her ex-roommate, Adrian Carter, owes for couch damage and a dog attack.
By the way, did you have any unreimbursed medical bills as a result of this dog bite? That's either a yes or a no.
No, ma'am.
When did you purchase this couch?
I purchased it the day we moved in, so it was October 7th.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $2,200 in total, and Adrian and I were paying on it a little bit in the beginning, but there came a time where we had to make the final payment on it, which was $1,200. When we had the argument, she didn't pay anything, so I had to pay it all by myself, and the couch is in my name.
Did the couch remain?
Yes, ma'am. The couch is at the house.
What does it look like now?
It's black, but there's it's an odor coming from the couch, and there's some stains on it.
Do you have a picture of it, what it looks like now?
No, ma'am. I just have the pictures that I gave you.
Okay, but you're still using the sofa.
The
answer is
a smell. No, ma'am. I don't sit on it anymore because there's a smell.
So why don't you get rid of it out of the apartment?
I'm moving October 6th, and that's when I plan to get rid of it.
But you've been using it since April.
It's just been sitting there, Your Honor. I haven't had
sitting
time.
in your apartment since April.
Yes, ma'am.
April, May.
I just haven't made the time to get rid of it because I know I'm moving soon, and that's when I plan to get rid of it.
I wouldn't keep something in my house that smelled.
I work a lot, and
Would you please show this to the defendant? Want to tell me how that happened?
I did put chips and like items that wasn't wet on the couch out of anger. I shouldn't have did it, but I did do it. And I didn't put liquid on it or anything. Literally,
That's not true, Your Honor.
Don't speak.
You can
No.
get a napkin and wipe it off. But that's my couch too. Maybe I didn't pay the whole thing on it, but I've made payments on that couch, and I decided not to do that full payment that she did, which was $600, because she was irresponsible and decided to rent a couch and found out that that couch was whatever amount. I made payments on that couch, and I have proof for it.
That's okay. You had no right to even attempt to destroy it.
At all.
At all. You had no right to do that.
Right.
Because that devalued the sofa.
I agree.
Okay, good. Okay. I'm actually finished with you.
Your Honor, can we please go back over the lease portion of this?
No.
Can my mom speak about what happened?
No, I said no. When there's that kind of acrimony, I actually think that before somebody gets seriously injured, when you have two large dogs and two people with hot tempers that can do this, it's a very, very good thing that they no longer live together.
Being stuck with a rent and
Just a second. I've just answered you. This is not a back and forth.
Yes, ma'am.
On the dog bite, I am awarding you $1,000. It looks as if part of it was a black and blue mark. Certainly, I can't blame the dog for trying to protect its owner, but she's supposed to have control of her dog all the time.
And she shouldn't start arguing.
This is not a tea dance. I'm not asking you anything. And I'm awarding you $1,200 for the sofa. That's $2,200. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
She just did something messed up, and I cut her off, and she didn't like it.
I literally cut her off. She's just mad that she's cut off.
She's delusional. She's delusional.
She's childish. She's irresponsible, and I was just sick of dealing with someone draining.
Just don't get roommates with your friends. Just move in by yourself.
I'm happy.
You had a question about the lease.
I did. So I agree that it was best for the acrimonious situation for them to separate and not to live there. So I understand your judgment saying it was better for you. You got the good end of the stick on that she left. However, the law, if you breach a lease, she did get stuck with a higher portion of rent because her roommate, although a negative situation that should have probably ended right when it did, she was stuck paying her half as well. So I thought you should have at least heard her claim on the breach of a lease, because then anyone could just say, oh, well, I don't like the situation and I feel like leaving would be a better thing, and stick their roommate with their portion of the rent. And that's not what the law says.
Well, that's true, except that this wasn't just a situation where parties weren't getting along. Mm-hmm. There's no question that she was nipped by the defendant's dog. Well, I wouldn't want to stay in that situation anyway.
Well, that would give her the right to maybe leave without paying her half of the rent, but that's not what happened.
It's also sort of acknowledged that the defendant brought two other people to take over her piece of rent. And it was in the papers, and the plaintiff did not.
She did say that she was the one that said no.
She said, I don't want those two people. Well, then the onus really falls on her to mitigate her damages. And she had no proof that she went forward to try to get another roommate. Between the two of them, they may have had an agreement, but the dispute over rent really is the defendants and the landlords. She doesn't pay her rent, and if the plaintiff pays her half of the rent, the landlord is free to go against either or both of them.
Sure, because both their names were on
right in the lease.
Understood.
Raheem Henry is suing his ex-girlfriend, Erica Christian, for personal property and filing a false restraining order.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Case 2052, Henry versus Christine.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Henry, what you're doing is suing the defendant with whom you had a relationship for a period of time for the return of property that you had in an apartment that you once shared and for filing a false restraining order, a false police report.
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant says that you never lived with her, that you damaged her front door, and you filed a restraining order against her that was false. So, Miss Christian, I think I'm going to start with you.
Yes, ma'am.
According to the papers that were filed, you and Mr. Henry did in fact live together for a period of time up until...
October 9th.
Shh. Up until October 9th of 1921.
Yes, Your Honor.
Of 2021, 1921, hardly almost the year of my birth.
Yes, ma'am.
2021, when he left.
Yeah, without a note.
Just a second. October of 2021. Then the information that I have contained in these papers indicate that he sort of came begging back. And that was in February.
Yes, ma'am.
Of 2022. And you took him back.
Yes, ma'am.
And he was living with you. You were living in the same apartment from February of 2022 until what you say in your answer is June of 2022, when for some reason you were looking through his phone. Now, you were looking through his phone because he was acting weird or whatever.
Yes.
That's June of 2022. You understand where I'm going, Miss Christian, don't you? Of course you do. So from February of 2022, February, March, April, May, for 4.5 months, Mr. Henry and you occupied the same residence.
No, ma'am.
Your residence.
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you say.
No, ma'am.
Oh.
He lived in his own apartment in Merritt Island. When we got back together.
Here we go. On February 15th, 2022, he contacted me and we got back together. He had his own place and never lived with me again. He would stay over occasionally and bring a few things to make himself comfortable. On June 21st, I went through his phone because he was acting weird. Where was he when you went through his phone?
He was asleep.
He was asleep where?
In my bed.
Okay. In the apartment?
Yes, I work at 6 o'clock.
In the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, yes, ma'am. And I saw that he was setting up a date with the mother of his child.
Yes, ma'am.
I got upset, dropped off my son, and then came back home while he was packing. He told me he was taking my couch, TV, dresser, dining table, and everything in my apartment. So my next question to you is, who paid for the couch?
Me.
I'd like to see a receipt.
I don't have it.
Who paid for the couch?
It was a couple years ago.
Shh.
Sorry.
My brother, Adonis Glover, he's the one that gave me the furniture.
Just a second.
He gave me the couch, the love seat, the lamp, a few other things listed on that document.
When did he give them to you?
He gave it to me before me and Miss Christian moved in the first apartment.
So let's go back. Where was the first place that you lived with the defendant?
Cocoa, Florida.
Okay. From when to when?
From 2020 October to February, March 2021, because that's when her lease was up.
Were you both on the lease in that apartment?
No, I wasn't on that lease.
Just you?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the first place that you lived together?
Yes.
And why did you leave that place, Mr. Henry?
She was relocating to Titusville. I helped her move into it, and I moved in as well.
Does that sound familiar to you? Be very careful what you say to me, because when I say I read the papers and I have my own preconceived ideas of what this case is about based upon 50 years worth of experience, be very careful what you say to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Does that sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am, he is lying.
He is lying about what?
Adonis did not give him that furniture. Furniture was given to me, never was given.
Just a second. So we're not talking about the furniture now. We're talking about when you lived together. Okay. You first lived someplace together and then moved into another place.
Yes, ma'am.
So that sounds familiar. Am I correct that this is all about furniture?
No.
Mr. Henry, value of property. She's not paying you for property, for furniture that was given to you that was secondhand. You have to understand that. If I find that it's your furniture, you're going to go and get it.
Yes, that's what I was hoping.
Just a second. Yeah. You're going to go and get it. Yes. If you can establish to me that it's your furniture, you can keep it. You're not a married couple. I have a couple of issues with some things that I think that you did, because I actually think that you were together and he was packing his things, but then the police were called and you told the police that he didn't live there. Isn't that right?
Yes. Okay. Because...
And just a second. And that wasn't true.
It is true.
Tell me where he was living.
He was living in Merritt Island. Okay. Whenever we broke up in October, from October to February, we broke up. He reached out to me the day after Valentine's Day. We started talking. He was buying me gifts to try to get back in my good graces. He was doing all this extra stuff to try to get back in my good graces. We got back together. He never did move back in with me. He always did live in his apartment in Merritt Island. I work at 6 o'clock in the morning till 12 p.m. Sometimes whenever I didn't have a babysitter, he doesn't have a job, he would watch my son. That's why he had a key. That's why he had to spend the night bag and all of that. He would bring over his clothes, shoes, PlayStation, anything to make himself comfortable to stay the night. And whenever the police were called, they made him collect all of those belongings and leave. They escorted him off the property, told him that he was not allowed back. They told me that
well, that's because if that's what's happened, that's because they believe you, which I don't.
Okay. They definitely...
That's because they believe you, and I don't, because if he was trying to get back in your graces and he was living in his own space and you weren't back together again, why in the world were you going through his phone? If you were just a casual gal, and the casual gal doesn't let him stay with her son because, well, he was available and he wasn't working, so he watched my son and he stayed over. That all sounds like a whole lot of Who Shot John. And it was convenient for you to be able to say he doesn't live here. So all I want to know, Miss Christian, is this case is mostly about furniture, used furniture.
I also have a TV there.
Do you have the receipt for it?
Yes, I have a title.
I'd like to see it. You have a TV in the house that belongs to him?
So the TV was...
Just a second. That's either yes or no.
No, the TV does not belong to him.
Who does it belong to?
The TV was a gift from him to me that I ended up paying off because he told me that when he bought it, that it was bought cash. Whenever, months later, I paid the TV off.
No, you didn't.
Just shh. First, you're going to show me that you paid it off. I assume you have proof that you paid it off?
I gave him cash for it because I did not think that we were ever going to break up.
Well, you never thought you were going to break up. I thought he didn't live with you. I thought he didn't live with you. You don't buy TV for somebody that you don't live with, that you're not going to watch all the time.
Eventually thought we were going to move into a house together, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Oh, don't tell me what you thought.
The TV that was bought was before I even...
Okay.
It had nothing.
That's a PlayStation and Nintendo.
Still property that's still at the apartment.
Okay. These are things that you say are yours.
Yes.
That you bought and paid for.
Yes.
Okay. All of these receipts.
All of it. No help.
Okay, so let's go beyond the point of now you're back together again, because that's what I believe. He's in bed, you're going through his phone, you find he's making a date with the mother of his child, you get annoyed, you take your son to another location because you know that there's going to be an argument. You come back, there is an argument, yes. He wants to take stuff, whatever, police are called, you tell the police he doesn't live there, they escort him out. He wants his property now. You're not married people. Whoever paid for the property or whoever was the recipient of a gift for the property owns the property. That's simple. You know, that's what the law is. What you want me to believe that a police officer saw him kick down your door, go into your apartment, take property, and did nothing. That's what you want me to believe.
Raheem Henry claims his ex-girlfriend, Erica Christian, owes for personal property. Erica is countersuing for door damages and stolen property.
Okay, he has a Nintendo, a PlayStation, Sony.
Your Honor, he collected those.
Just a second. A queen mattress and foundation. And we have May of 2022. This is a TV, an LED TV.
That was my birthday present.
Nah. What? Okay, so I have titles to these things. Do you have titles or receipts for any of these things?
I don't have receipts for any of those things. He grabbed his PlayStation, his Switch, and everything whenever he left. The only thing that is in my apartment is the TV that he bought me for my birthday. May is my birthday. May 7th is my birthday. That was my birthday present that he bought for me.
Did you take your Nintendo?
No.
Did
you? I haven't had. Recently, that was something different. My storage unit was just broken into. This is why I don't have original documents. And she stole more of my property.
I don't know that. Did you file a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did they ever find any of the property?
No,
Perhaps?
not right now.
Okay. The couch, whatever other furniture is there, is how old? I mean, it used to be used furniture, so it was.
Yeah, my brother Adonis got it when he paid for it. It was like a kind of like a bundle deal for the apartment, like a lot of furnishing, and I ended up giving him some money for looking out.
That was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was used furniture at the time.
Yeah. It wasn't nothing like brand new out of the seal.
How much did you pay for the TV?
I got taxed when I was like at $15, almost to $2,000, because it's a 60-inch smart TV.
Okay. So what is it that you want? Is my question.
I want a court order to go get the rest of my property.
I have to know what the rest of your property is.
Yes.
You have the TV.
The TV, I have asthma medication, I have plantar fasciitis.
I want to tell you something. She threw out your asthma medication.
I believe so, too.
She threw out your asthma medication.
Yeah.
What else?
I have crutches. I have.
You have what?
Crutches and certain things. I have
you don't,
PlayStation.
Look, you don't need crutches. And the PlayStation, you said, was in the storage unit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not interested in the storage unit. So far, I have a TV. What else?
My mattress, my bed, my
you don't
stuff
want
that I had
you don't
from the
want
apartment.
You don't want a mattress. Are you back with this lady now?
No.
Where are you living?
I've been living on the streets. I've been living out of my car ever since this been happening.
Where are you going to put a mattress?
I have a storage unit that I was going to just collect. I'm pretty much just trying to salvage what I can, because I have things that's sentimental, stuff from my grandmother passing away, things that I really can't put a price tag on. I just want to be able to get a court order to just get the rest of my belongings.
I don't know what the rest of. I have a TV. You have no place to put a mattress that's a couple of years old. So you really don't need that. I mean, I can give you an order to get your mattress, but what are you going to do with it? It's just going to cost you to go get it and to store it. So you really don't need it.
I don't need it, but I would like to still get all of my property back. Like the stuff that I paid for, because I worked hard. I furnished
I'm giving
my
you
apartment.
your TV back. You're going to get the TV. I haven't figured out what else it is that you really want to make this whole thing worthwhile. I'm not giving you any money. Do you want the mattress back? You paid for it. You're entitled to it back. I can give you an order for the mattress and the TV.
Okay. And I also have electronics, like from games to controllers, just so much things that
TV, mattress, box spring. He's going to come and get it with a marshal, but he's coming to get it within 5 days from today.
So what if I pull up my bank statements to show that I gave him cash around the same time that whenever it was pulled up and everything? Because I did give him cash for the TV, for the bed, for actually more than he ever even put into it.
Let me explain something to you. Unless you have a check made out to him, I have a problem with somebody who lies to the police.
Ma'am,
I do. I have trouble with somebody who got very angry because her boyfriend, who was living there, watching her son, brought a TV, bought a mattress, bought a box spring, bought all of those things, and then you got annoyed that he was involved again with his child's mother. You dropped off your son someplace else to come back to have a fight with him. You did have an argument with him. Police were called. You said to the police, he doesn't live here.
Your Honor, he moved out.
He doesn't live here. That's what's here.
Your Honor, I never moved out.
He moved out in
We had a
October.
whole business together.
No, we do not. That business is in my name, and I have the receipts to that, too.
You have to understand something. I know what happened. I don't believe you.
Ma'am, I'm
you
telling
have
you
to.
the truth.
No, you're not. You're not telling me the truth. That when the police came, you said, he doesn't live here.
Yes.
He doesn't live here. Put him outside.
He took all of his belongings.
Did he take his... Oh, no.
May I finish? He took all of his belongings on October 9th. Whenever he left, without a call, without a text message, without anything, he broke up with me and left. He got back in contact with me in February. Mind you, we never lived together after that.
He was just staying over to watch your son when you got angry in June.
Whenever
it was June. It was June, 4.5 months later.
Which he would go back to his apartment. He would come. He never stayed more than a couple nights consecutively.
Okay. He's coming to get his TV. He's coming to get his mattress and box spring.
Can we
You have a
talk about
counterclaim.
my counterclaim?
You have a counterclaim for damage to the front door.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Damage to the front door.
Kicked my front door down.
Okay. When did he do that?
The day after he was police escorted, they told him not to come back, and the next day he came back and kicked my door down right in front of the police officer.
So he came back with a police officer.
And kicked my door down.
Just a second. He came back with a police officer, and the police officer was there when he broke into your apartment.
Yes, and they were going to take him.
No, tell me what they were going to do. And they did nothing.
Well, they trespassed him from my apartment complex.
I'm asking you, what you're telling me is, madam, which is why I have problems with you right from the get-go. What you're telling me now is he came back to get his property. The next day,
He didn't come back
with a police officer.
Yes.
And what you're telling me, a police officer, and what, you live in Florida?
Yes.
What you want me to believe that a police officer saw him kick down your door, go into your apartment, take property, and did nothing. That's what you want me to believe.
He didn't not do anything. He was completely confused on who actually lived there.
You're telling me a police officer was confused.
I'm telling you the truth. They were very confused on who actually lived there.
Bring me just a second.
They were trying to figure out if it was my apartment, his apartment. I had to go get my property manager, bring my lease that only had my name on it.
You don't understand. The last place you lived with him full-time, your name was on the lease too. Only yours.
Correct.
And you lived together. So now you took his lease again, just in your name, and said, he's not on the lease, he doesn't live here.
We broke up, though.
Okay. All right, he's coming to get his TV, he's coming to get his mattress.
Okay.
And I would like to see a police report. I would like to see.
I also have an iPad.
Just a second. Okay. You're done. You're going to get your TV, your mattress, and your box spring. Unless you have some sort of a police report for me, I don't believe you. I think that you were really angry, and you were dishonest with the police, and you felt that you were being taken advantage of.
Raheem Henry has accused his ex-girlfriend, Erica Christian, of keeping his personal property. Erica claims he broke through her door and stole her belongings.
Now.
Yes, ma'am. I have my Chromebook, my iPad, my office supplies, things that were stolen from my company that whenever he kicked my door down and took things out of my apartment that day.
Okay, now let's get to the company. What kind of work were you involved with when you and the defendant lived together, Mr. Henry?
I did all the graphic design. I made the business cards.
Just a second. Were you involved in graphic design?
Yes. I actually went...
Just a second. Together?
No. It was mainly me.
And you did this over a computer, over a laptop?
Over a tablet, over my iPad.
So the business supplies that she's going to tell me about were for the graphic design business?
Yes. Some of the supplies, but I never stole anything. I just had an iPad that I worked on, and I did graphic design on that was mine. I gave her cash for it. She found it on Amazon for me for a good deal. I was able to draw on it. She's never had access to it. It's always been my Apple ID on it.
Where is it?
I don't know. The day when I got escorted out, she came out of the apartment. I was going in to get the rest of my belongings, and she was saying, "I can't find my iPad. You have it." And right then and there, I knew she found it, and she took it and hid it. So the officer let me go inside to get my belongings. I looked in the closet where I had it wrapped up, gone. I walked outside and was like, "Erica, where's my iPad? I paid for that. I do work on it. That is mine." She said, "I don't know. It's gone. You must have it." Had this whole sob story about it. So still to this day, I have no idea.
Okay. What else?
My iPad that he stole the day that he broke into my apartment. My Chromebook that he stole the day that he broke into
Your what?
My Chromebook, my laptop.
What else?
I have my printer that he stole. It's all right here, 600. Do you want me to just pass it to you?
Did you take a printer?
I'm
so sorry.
I wasn't able to leave with anything because they made me have to go through a civil suit because she started claiming stuff and saying it was hers and it wasn't mine. So the officer didn't even let me go back inside the apartment.
I want to know when you went in the presence of a police officer, whether you pushed down the door, kicked down the door or not. Unless I have a police report, I don't actually believe that the police officer... He
was my escort. I actually met him.
Did you take any electronics with you when you left?
I didn't leave with anything.
Okay, Judge, don't give me a whole bunch of papers. What I'd like to see is a police report or any other documentation that he took anything the day after you had him evicted from the apartment where he was living.
She didn't even have me evicted.
I have the receipts of the stuff that he stole.
He said he didn't take anything. He said the police officer was there, wouldn't let him take a printer. I mean, those are heavy electronics. And that was the only other time he was in the apartment.
He also checked my car.
No, he didn't.
Unless you have some sort of a police report for me, Miss Christian, I don't believe you. I think that you were really angry. I think that you were really angry because he left in October. You took him back in February. You found out that he was not being straight up front with you, and you were dishonest with the police, which is all part of being angry and felt that you were being taken advantage of. According to you, you was together so much so that he bought you a television set a month before you threw him out for your birthday that cost thousands of dollars. That's what you just told me.
Ma'am, he bought that TV in February for me for an early birthday present. He bought it for an early birthday present and told me...
He's coming to get, listen to me, he's coming to get his TV, he's coming to get his box spring, he's coming to get his mattress. It's a court order. It's a court order with a marshal in 5 days from today. Do you understand?
I also have
5 days from
my
today.
Countersuit, my false police reports, the false injunction, everything that he did.
I have to tell you something. The same way that I'm not entertaining because it's over, this fib that you told to the police, which caused him to be... don't interrupt me. I'm not entertaining. You filed restraining orders against each other?
She filed...
Just a second. You filed restraining orders against each other. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a restraining order against her?
Yes, but it was dismissed.
I said, do you have one currently? The answer is no.
No.
Do you have a restraining order against him?
No, ma'am.
Good. It's exactly what I thought. Because neither one of you have to say goodbye. You have to stop being angry, but you have to give him back his property.
I only wanted the restraining.
TV, mattress, box spring, 5 days from today. Counterclaims dismissed. We're finished with this case. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think that it was unfair.
I'm pretty much just happy it's all over.
Broke up with me without even a text message, a phone call, nothing.
She just took it and ran with it, and she decided she was going to take matters into her own hands and be spiteful.
Very single. No more relationships for a while.
It's definitely time to move forward, move past it.
The good one is out there, but I have not found him yet.
It's just nice that at least it's over. It's a weight lifted off my shoulders.
I sort of felt sorry for him. He probably deserved some of it, but you can't lie to the police.
I think she was being vindictive by saying he doesn't live here. He doesn't live here. He sort of kind of lives here if you're being truthful. But it's always a good idea to have your name on the lease if you can, because that's all the officer has to look at in a squabble like what happened between them.
Yeah, it's almost between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
If your name is not on the lease, you're not responsible for the rent.
Yep.
And I've usually suggested that when you're living together, you don't have both people's name on the lease, because in the event that you separate, who's going to stay in the apartment? And if you're the one who leaves, your former partner may say to you, don't worry, you leave, I'll take over the rent. But if they don't, you're still on the hook with the landlord. So
there's pros and cons to both.
But it's an exit strategy. Yeah. And people have to be smart enough. You see, he had an exit strategy. His name wasn't on the lease. Yeah. But then he needed it. But I think she was being dishonest. And I think his brother did, in fact, give him some old furniture. Who cares about that? It's from decades ago.
You only stay a few nights. You're not bringing your furniture.
Your couch, your TV, yeah. Anyway, they just have to get over it and move on.
Put a period.
Now, put a period. Now he has his TV and he has his mattress.
Xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu bút trên một chú thỏ đang gọt táo. Lấy một cái tô và chiếc mũi. Ca sĩ Tô Vạn Áo. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh hình ảnh một chú thỏ đang gọt táo. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo.